Be like Bill O'Reilly. We'll do it live.
There we go. We are officially live. We are up and running. And first and foremost, number one, you're clearly showing your colors here. You got the Michigan hat on, you got the Pittsburgh Steelers t-shirt on, so not hard to figure out where your allegiances lie tonight.
Let's go.
I commend you on the fact that you have made it this far without diving into the delicious aroma that has been wafting up your nostrils this entire time. Our lovely friends over at the Smoke Shack have given us a delicious little pile of food here. So we're going to dig into that courtesy of our friends at the Smoke Shack as I smash over the microphone to kick off this NFL live stream. How you doing tonight, buddy?
Good, man. Good, man. What's happening?
Oh, well, let me tell you, it is a nerve-wracking time to be an Eagles fan because it's one thing when we had 3 first-round draft picks. Okay, and then we go and we trade back and all of that fun stuff, and we get all the Saints picks for future years and whatnot. That's great. Now we've got 2. Now I've already wrapped my head around this. All right, a little dicey with Howie having 2 draft picks. Now he wants to move into the top 10, apparently. So there could be some fireworks happening pretty soon.
I shouldn't have told you that earlier today. I should have just let it lie and let it, kind of marinate once you heard it when you logged in tonight.
Oh, don't you worry. It's been on absolute TSN, ESPN, NFL Network. Everything is talking about how Howie is looking for a willing trade partner, and God knows what the hell that could mean. He could go anywhere with this one here, and this is par for the course of the Howie Roseman experience. And I know a lot of Eagles fans out there will agree. He either hits home runs or he strikes out on only 2 pitches somehow. Like that is his MO right there.
The bat flies out of his hand, it disintegrates, and he doesn't have a backup. So
yeah, exactly. Forfeits there. But it's gonna be an interesting night. What are you thinking for your Steelers? Are you thinking they could be trading up to get a certain quarterback, or do you think they're gonna stay right where they are and just see how the board plays out in front of them?
First of all, can you put it in the budget next year so we can actually go to the draft? Because I was under the impression that we were going to be in Vegas. And here we are sitting in our basements, talking about the draft, not live. Like you got to figure it out. The Dine Sports money's got to start, going towards something. You can't just hoard it like Scrooge McDuck and dive into it like a pool of coins. Let's put it towards something like actually being at a live event.
There we go. We'll have the Smoke Shack cater it, and now we just need to get an airline company to sponsor us for next year.
There you go.
Bold move, by the way, hosting it in Vegas. The fact that we've gotten through all the way to draft night this far without incident, someone making headlines for doing something ridiculous in Vegas is a miracle in and of itself.
Yeah, especially guys who aren't even in the league yet. Very, very bold move. But I think you're seeing record numbers of guys who are like, yeah, I'll attend the draft this year. Why not?
yeah. Record number of people applying for press credentials all of a sudden.
No, but it's like, 2 years from now when it's in Detroit, or next year when it's in Detroit, the prospects are going to say, I just want to spend this time with my family. Well, we'll just hang out at home. Don't worry. No offense to anyone who's living in Detroit right now. Lovely city, but Vegas is Vegas.
Yeah. There's a reason that people plan destination trips around Las Vegas there, and often it's not broadcast on live national television. So we'll see if any of the friends and family members in the audience are had a long day on the strip. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're going to see some weathered parents who went out last night and celebrated or pre-celebrated their kids getting drafted tonight.
Yeah, got on a heater at the blackjack table.
Aiden Hutchinson.
Uncle Fred couldn't walk away.
Aiden Hutchinson's pictured with his mom. We don't know where his dad is. Apparently he's over at the Flamingo.
Well, circling back to it though, Steelers tonight. What is your Nostradamus prediction here?
Everyone's talking about them trading up. I don't see them doing that. It's not really in their MO. They've done it a couple of times in the past, but only for players that I think are, one of a few, right? The guys that I'm really, looking at being there when Pittsburgh selects at 20. I mean, if you have one of the defensive tackles drop, like a Jordan Davis or a Devontae Wyatt from Georgia, I think they'd be a good fit with what they want to do. Everyone's talking quarterback. Who knows? Like, do they really like some of these quarterbacks, or is it just a smokescreen to kind of take the scent away from the player that they actually like? You know, if a linebacker like Nakobe Dean falls and he's sitting there at 20, even though you've got, you know, some depth at linebacker, does the talent outweigh the need at that point? So I'd actually be happy with a few different directions if they go that way. But the guy I'm really hoping for is Jordan Davis. I think that he's the guy that needs to, you know, bring back the old steel curtain style defense of stop the run, you know, and set up, you know, a good pass rush. Because if you can, you know, get teams in second and third and long, now watch what TJ Watt can do, as opposed to, you know, second and 4, you know, second and 3, and who knows if they're going to run a play action or not. So let's just get that big body in the middle. That's the ideal scenario for Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Well, again, it's in Vegas. Here we go. Roger Goodell walking out, getting the ceremonial Vegas applause there. But
over under on how drunk Goodell is going to be by pick 15.
Oh, wow. I think he probably had a few beverages after the pre-draft interview that they did, because they asked him about the Brian Flores lawsuit, and you could just see him grip the table slightly harder when that topic came up. So
Yeah,
I think he might have cooled off with a adult beverage in the green room in the back after that one.
he's got his own sommelier on standby in the back, you know, just you know, recommending different wines and beers and whatnot for when he goes back there to you know, keep the edge off a bit. But look at Darren Waller looking sharp. You know, all these trade rumors about him going to Green Bay. He's like, I want to stay in Vegas. And, you know, it's no coincidence that he's donning the Raiders colors with his suit combination.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, bold move, bringing out some Raiders on stage with him there to get the crowd right on your side off the hop there by Goodell. I think if that had been in New York, they could have brought out whoever the hell they wanted, and he still would have gotten the chorus of booze there. So he's getting wiser in his old age.
I mean, he's not stupid, and like you can't say that he is. Like, the guy's making money for these owners, and yeah, I think a part of him likes the booze. Like, it, you know, it feeds him throughout the night. And then, you know, he's dabbing up all the prospects as they come up, as the, you know, the crowd just wants to huck, you know, their beer cans at him, you know, the whole time. So, I mean, I always like this whenever they bring the players out to experience it. All these guys went through it, obviously, so they can kind of relate, but they're seeing it from a different perspective now. They're not as nervous, obviously. But yeah, I mean, when you have it in a specific city, as opposed to just having it in the same, you know, place every year, like it was in New York for, you know, what, 30, 40 years, you know, you're able to get more of the fan base involved. You're able to get, you know, players more involved. And I think that's what the audience really wants to see.
Yeah. And special guest appearances by Ice Cube, apparently. Giving the people what they want here. There you go. Oh my God. We should have gotten some over-unders on how many celebrity guest appearances there were going to be. But...
Oh, there's definitely going to be a minimum of 50 tonight, because I think with it being in Vegas, with the Raiders being the host, they're going to do it big. And you know that Mark Davis is behind the scenes, just kind of pulling the Goodell puppet strings, is saying, here's what we're doing. You go out and make it happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of rooms being comped at hotels this weekend there for some special guest appearances for sure. But
yeah,
speaking of over-unders, we've got a few over-unders as well too here, courtesy of our good friends over at bet99.com. So for anyone who wants to get in on the action, these are still live. Go and use the promo code DYNES, DYNES, to log yourself in there and get in on this. We've got 4 that we have in play tonight. I went 2 that are kind of chalky, and then 2 that we'll see how the draft board falls. So it was absolutely ridiculous odds for the number 1 overall pick. So just didn't even took that one right off the board. So at number 2, we've got Aiden Hutchinson going. So if he goes number 2 to the Detroit Lions, we're in good shape right now.
All right, perfect.
Our second chalky one is first quarterback off the board. We've got Malik Willis. So
yeah,
as long as the dual threat is the theme du jour, and I would be flabbergasted if it was anyone other than him, based on you project what the upside of some of these guys is going to be here. Hey, if the Washington Commanders really love small hands Pickett, maybe that could be something that throws a wrench into things, but I think we're pretty safe with that one.
It's Carolina, man. Carolina is that team that's just going to mess up everything for everybody tonight, because they're going to do something so out of left field, because I think they're trying to trade down, obviously. And when you don't get the trade down you want, you know what teams do. They panic. So I think that Carolina is just going to say, you know what? We don't know what we're doing. It's going to be 5 seconds left on the clock. They're going to blurt out, Desmond Ridder. And Ridder's going to be, it's like the Trey Lance pick last year for the 49ers. Completely out of left field. No one expected it. And I think even he was surprised walking up to the stage. So I think that's going to be that moment tonight where you're going to see that what are they doing type moment. And it's going to throw everyone for a loop.
Howie Roseman is watching this right now going, hold my beer. He's going to try and steal that from him. So we've got two other ones here, and these are our over unders. So
I love the over unders.
We took the under 2.5 quarterbacks taken in the first round this year. Now that one I'm not feeling super confident about. But my rationale was, at a lot of the sports books out there that I was seeing, it was just at 2, right? So if you get 2, you end up pushing. It's the kiss your sister bowl. No one likes that, right? Just get your money back. Bet99, our good friends over there, 2.5. So we're getting a little bit of extra juice. I figure Willis is going. I figure Pickett's going. It's going to get dicey towards the end of
pick
the
25,
first round.
We're going to be sweating, man. We're going to be sweating at pick 25.
So we'll see what happens. That's where I see it happening, right? Pick 25 through the end there. Someone trading up into the first round, getting that 5th-year option, blah, blah, blah. But, hey, we're live with that one. And then the other one, took the over 6.5 wide receivers in round 1. Sounds like a big number, but when you rattle through, Garrett Wilson is going. Williams is going. London is going. Burks is going. Olave is going. There's 5 right there, right?
And then you get guys like Dotson.
Exactly. You got Dotson. You got Green Bay if they don't take a wide receiver. So I'm penciling them in for one. There's 6. So I just need one other team to take a wide receiver for us to cover there.
Kansas City, I think, is that team that's going to round it out. So
there we go. So those are our 4. Willis first QB off the board. Hutchinson is the number 2 pick. Over 6.5 wide receivers in round 1. Under 2.5 QBs in round 1.
Let's go.
How you feeling about that?
I feel good about that. I feel good about that. The one I'm unsure about is the quarterback one. That is always iffy, especially like you were saying, especially when we get to those later picks. Teams want to trade back up. So every time we see a trade at the end of the round tonight, we're gonna be clenching up a little bit. But
we'll be
I'm
tightening
good.
up.
But, I'm good. I'm good with that. But you know what? If we win tonight, that's obviously cashing in a big check for both the Dine Sports and the Front Office Podcast. And, we mentioned it at the start, with that money, we got to go and, support our boys over at the Smoke Shack and BTP Smokehouse. I mean, they're so good to us with the Front Office Podcast. Obviously, they hooked us up tonight with some delicious food as we're talking. And anyone who's in the Ottawa area, honestly, please go visit them at their city center location. That's the BTP Smokehouse. They've got a patio that seats over 150 people. The atmosphere is fantastic. The food's great. Inside, you got the brew pub. It's honestly one of the best spots to go in the city. And the best part, parking is free. So go do yourself a favor. Next time you have a big event, next time you want to go watch the game, head over to the BTP Smokehouse and support them. And obviously, in the West End, anyone who wants to go and enjoy like a nice outdoor dining experience, the Smoke Shack on Carp Road, it's open for business, everybody. Go get yourself some delicious barbecue in the country. Nothing better than that. But again, thank you to Tyler and the crew at Smoke Shack and BTP Smokehouse.
Amazing.
Be sure to enter the promo code FOP10 when you're checking out on online. You'll get 10% off of your order.
There you go. You got to give the people the discount codes here.
You know what? I don't even think about it because I'm drooling over this food that's next to me, and I'm talking so much because I'm not eating. So my head's a little bit off, but we're all good. We're all good. So Jacksonville's got 5 minutes left on the clock. Where do you think they're going with this, man?
Well, what was surprising to me, right, is all the consensus all year. Well, preseason it was Sam Howell is going to probably go number one. And then he just completely fell right off the board. Probably isn't even a first rounder anymore. Then it was, okay, is it going to be Thibodeau? Is it going to be Hutchinson? Hutchinson got a huge run there and okay, lots of love. He's the consensus number one. And then it seems like out of nowhere, the last, 2 weeks, like Trayvon Walker went from not even listed as an option that you could bet on to go number one to the consensus favorite at every single sports book. These guys aren't usually wrong, right? When they move the line to like minus 575 for him to go first, someone in Vegas knows something somewhere there, right? Yeah. So I would be shocked if it wasn't him based on all the, rumblings that we're hearing. But I mean, when you look at the two, it's kind of the proven product of, know what you're getting with Hutchinson, where we know where that floor is set, right? But Walker just has that, if he can finally realize that potential, that frame, that body, the athleticism, like he could be a tremendous first overall pick, or it could be 5 years from now. We're like, Jesus, what was Jacksonville doing there? Right.
Well, keep in mind who's the GM, right? Trent Baalke has a history of drafting upside and athletic players. Not to say that Hutchinson isn't that guy, but the last time there was kind of a debate as to who they were taking at a defensive end perspective. He took Aldon Smith ahead of a lot of other proven guys, and that turned out to be a pretty good pick for him in San Francisco. So I've had Trayvon Walker, pegged to Jacksonville for the last month. I think that his upside is too tantalizing to pass up on. And the fact that he can kind of move inside and out, that's the biggest thing that I think teams are looking at now with hybrid style defenses. He can put on 10, 20 pounds easily and move to a 3-tech permanently, but then also be able to rush outside. So it'll be interesting. I think, Walker's going to be the guy here too, but I would not be shocked in the slightest to see Hutchinson go. Or they could throw a curveball and, just draft Evan Neal, even though they just re-signed, Cam Robinson to that big deal yesterday. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, Howie Roseman's good at throwing curveballs to just rip your heart out. The Jacksonville Jaguars offense and front office and all of that is just a question mark in general. You never know what the hell they're going to do. So there you go. Pick is in. Trayvon Walker. No real surprise there. That's why I stayed away from that number one overall pick there on our friends at Bet99. But, great pick for now. But if he doesn't realize that full potential, could be looking pretty silly, right? Like there's a lot of analysts out there who are giving him his flowers, showing him a lot of love, and rightfully so, that high upside. But that's only half the equation, right? You can have all the skills and intangibles there, but unless you're putting in the work and that system, he really fits in well, I think Jacksonville just in general probably improves overall offensively and defensively, and probably by at least 2 wins this year just by getting Urban Meyer out of the building. So they're playing with house money this year, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, again, I think this pick is obviously meant for exactly what you just said. They're not going to be competing for a Super Bowl next year. So this pick is being made because sorry,
Jacksonville fans, in case that's breaking news to anyone here.
if you're a Jacksonville fan, for a fact that Jacksonville's not in a place right now, but the pieces are starting to come in place. You got Trevor Lawrence, ETN's coming back next year, with a healthy foot, hopefully. And, you've got a very active offseason with signing these free agents. You haven't gotten a lot out of your last edge rusher that you drafted in Caleb Von Chason. This is kind of one of those things that makes up for that because, again, he's 272 pounds, 6'5", but you see him move inside and out. Like he's on the edge, he's inside at 3. He's too quick on the inside for guards. He's too powerful outside for tackles. He's very patient. He understands, and he's well coached. Like the guy won a national championship on the best defense statistically in NCAA history. And he was the one who stood out the most on film when you watch the national championship. So Trayvon Walker is actually such a tantalizing talent. It's one of those decisions that needs to be made for the future. And I think that's the right pick. And as I say that, the Lions literally spent 30 seconds on the clock before the picks in. So we know what's happening with number 2.
Yeah. The Lions literally sprinted to the podium to get that pick in there. They knew what was happening. So unless we're both just going to be completely blindsided here, I'm feeling pretty good about Hutchinson going number 2 and starting our night off right on the props pool front there. But
yeah,
I mean, Detroit Lions, you look at their team again, there's another team that's not going to be competing for a Super Bowl anytime soon. And what's their team need? Everything. Like, is there one area that you can really say that
Grit.
they are absolutely set here?
That's what their team need is grit. Dan Campbell wants guys with grit. And Aiden Hutchinson, he's born in Michigan, goes to school in Michigan. Now he gets drafted, and again, we're speculating until the picks actually mean, but we know who's getting picked here. We know who's getting picked. If he doesn't go here, I'm literally going to do a backflip.
You know what? This is the perfect time for you to make that proclamation on a YouTube live here. I can't wait to see your offensive lineman frame attempt this backflip here.
I mean, I'm pretty athletic, but my basement ceiling's not as high as I'd like it for that to happen. So
that's clearly the only thing holding us back here.
It's the only thing holding us back.
There we go. Pick is in, and we've got surprise, Aiden Hutchinson to the Detroit Lions. I mean, probably a outside chance of being the most popular jersey sale out of anyone in this draft class.
I think absolutely Hawk, right? He is going to be the number one selling jersey. It's just a shame that this didn't happen in Detroit next year. Can you imagine the ovation that would be going on right now? But you talk about high character, you talk about relentless motor, you talk about leadership, you talk about toughness. Like, these are all things that I think Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell are trying to bring into Detroit to change the narrative of what they've been in the past. They want to beat people up. They've never had a team like that. And you saw flashes of that last year, and I think now they're getting more of these young, talented guys in there. And this is exactly the type of guy that can come in and change the side of the football, for defense. And, they've hit on a number of picks last year. This could be, the start of something good 2 years in a row. But like, you had Penei Sewell, Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now you've got Aiden Hutchinson. Those are three impactful players in two drafts. Some teams don't get that, as an Eagles fan would know. Some teams don't get that in the span of 5 or 6 drafts. So, the fact that, they're getting these types of guys, high character, high volume, high effort, that's exactly how you turn a team around. Guys who buy in and guys who lead by example. So this is a fantastic pick.
Yeah, absolutely.
And not to mention, he goes to the right school.
There you go.
Go blue, baby.
Well, I was going to say, homegrown talent is going to fit right in. Instant fan favorite, going to really generate some buzz. And, if you look at it from the sport business side of things here, we already mentioned the jersey sale aspect, probably going to get maybe a few more season ticket buyers and all of that. So a lot of positives, not to mention all the things you just said there. Hell of a football player. Depending on who you asked a couple weeks ago, could have easily gone number 1 overall. So definitely a culture shift happening in Detroit there. But let's call a spade a spade. This is not a instant overnight, we're now ready to compete in the NFC North here. But, I think it's smart what the Lions have done, because now they have that option, right? Because they do have 2 first-round picks here. So the question now becomes, all right, we already mentioned towards the end of that first round, that's where we're going to get a little bit dicey about, is that third quarterback going to get taken? Do you see them going out there and taking a, Ritter or a Howell or someone like that? Or do you think, based on the fact that it's probably going to be another losing season in the Motor City this year, a much stronger quarterback class next year, that they just go and they address another need with that first rounder, maybe even trade back, acquire some more draft capital and go that route instead?
It's whether they think guys next year can come in and start right away. Because I think what you buy yourself if you draft a guy this year is the ability for Jared Goff to be the starting quarterback this year, and eventually, watch out, fumble, and eventually, slowly get that rookie into playing either at the end of this season or have him sit on the bench completely for a season and then come in next year as a starter. Ideally, I think that's what teams would like to do. But more often than not, when you're drafting a quarterback in the first round, you have to put him in. Like, that's just the nature of the business nowadays. But the benefit is you take a guy this year, you get an extra year, so you get a 5th year. So now you've got still 4 years to evaluate that quarterback, right? With that first year being a red shirt. That being said, next year's quarterback class is much better when you look at potential, going forward. So, does it make sense to, eventually just wait it out and draft a guy next year? Because again, they got 2 first-round picks next year. Mm-hmm. So, do they draft up next year and take that guy? Who knows? That's all depends on who's available when they pick at 32. Maybe they wait until 34 and take him with the second-round pick. I just think it's who's available, because I think, when you and I talked about it before, if a guy like Matt Corral or Sam Howell is there, I think that fits their system a lot better than the other quarterbacks who are available.
Mm-hmm. Well, Texans pick is in here, and you want to talk about a team that needs every position known to mankind here. What do you think here? Gut reaction. Are they going offensive side or defensive side of the football?
So it's between 2 guys in my mind. It's going to be either Evan Neal, or I think they might throw a curveball at everybody and take a guy like Derek Stingley Jr. here to shore up their corner spot, because there's a lot of buzz happening right now that Stingley is climbing back up draft boards.
Yeah. And that's same kind of vibe I've got. It's either going to be offensive linemen. So, pick your poison, Neal or Ekwonu, and then it's going to probably be a DB. What could be Sauce Gardner, could be Stingley, could be Hamilton. I could see them go a variety of ways. I would be a little bit shocked if they went defensive line here, right? I think they've got some real big needs, and they're just such elite playmakers that are plug and play that they could go here, that I would be a little bit shocked for that. But I mean, they sure as hell need positions across the entire board there. And there you go. Derek Stingley Jr., cornerback out of LSU.
Let's go.
Called it. And this is why I was even looking at doing a top 3 pick parlay. Yeah. I just didn't know which direction the Texans were going to go. I knew it was the number 1 and number 2 I had locked in, but even parlaying those 2, you still couldn't bring down those friggin' odds there on the number 1 overall pick.
If you called me, if you called me, we could have sorted this whole thing out, man.
Listen, you were a little occupied today, as evidenced by how we even got our food here. Somehow this was a 5-person operation.
We got the wives involved.
Yeah. So this was no slam dunk here, let alone, hey, Kyle, who's going number 3 overall? Would have been a quick hang up on me. I think.
Yeah, I had a lot more pressing matters. So just so everyone's aware, I literally got home about half an hour before I jumped on this thing, and I needed to put my daughter to bed and get everything ready to go. We needed to change. I needed to get my food. Like, I literally got here right under the wire. But again, this is one thing. Like Derek Stingley Jr., if you look at his freshman film, he would have been the first overall pick this year. Mm-hmm. He was so good on that national champion LSU team. Like, they're talking about him matching up against Jamar Chase and locking him up in practice as a freshman. Like, that's impressive. And I think that when you look at the potential, like when we talk about Trayvon Walker with potential, this pick is potential. Like, this guy has the potential to be a Darrelle Revis. Right? This guy has the potential to be, one of the top cornerbacks in the league. And now you look at the other guy who could have been in this position with a Sauce Gardner. What you're getting with Sauce. Like, he's a big rangy
what's
corner.
in the sauce.
What's in the sauce. But Stingley, again, it's the Walker versus Hutchinson argument. Mm-hmm. I think that Stingley, the potential and the talent is just too spicy for the Texans to pass up there. So that was according to plan. I think they want to go with defense now, and then they're going to wait and see how the board falls. But I really think they want to trade out of that 13th spot, so that way they can get themselves either a good solid receiver, or they'll see what type of defensive line prospect may fall around that point.
Yeah. Well, it's feeling very chalky so far, but as we've already mentioned, everything could get completely off the rails when Carolina's pick rolls around. Obviously, the Jets are up fourth right now. Up first, they traded up. They've circumvented the draft here.
Probably.
But I mean, always fun when it's the New York Jets' turn to pick, because even in Vegas, they're panning the crowd and they are well represented. There are quite a few New York State and New Jerseyans out there representing the blue or the green and white. So they've got an interesting team, right? couple players lost. Marcus May, so they're going to need some.
I like that definition, by the way. Interesting.
Well, again, for those who don't know,
it's a polite way of saying not good.
I was gonna say I don't want to relitigate things too much for some of the listeners here who have heard our rants vis-a-vis the what did we label him, the Wonder Boy?
No, it was the dainty little fella.
The dainty little fella, Zach Wilson. I mean, it begins and ends to me right there with the problem. I don't see you winning too many football games long term with him as your franchise quarterback, and look right across your stadium at what just happened with someone who got too cute of a pick there, and Daniel Jones. They just didn't even pick up his 5th-year option they announced today. So he just has shades of Daniel Jones written all over it to me. So that's a whole other issue. But again, here, right, I think it's going to be that loss of Marcus May, a little secondary it needs right now. Yeah, they picked up DJ Reed, but Jordan Whitehead as well too. Neither of those guys have the upside of, a Sauce Gardner, a Kyle Hamilton. So I kind of see it being DB-esque here. Yeah. Do you see them going in a different direction, or are we on the same wavelength right here?
I personally, I think that it should be Gardner. And I think that the majority of myself is leaning towards that pick. The wild card here is apparently they have fallen in love with Ike Ekwonu from NC State. So, I mean, my money is on Ahmad Gardner to be the pick here, but I also think that they could just do what Houston did and throw a monkey wrench in it and take the guy that maybe they were hiding this whole time, but it's kind of leaked out today. Well, they actually really love this guy. So, I mean, ideally, you can't go wrong. The Jets need a lot of things. They haven't re-signed George Fant, who is their other tackle across from Mekhi Becton last year. Mekhi Becton has injury problems. Obviously, he's missed a lot of time in his first couple of years in the league. Do you go with a guy to shore up the offensive side of the ball to protect Zach Wilson, or do you load up on defense, get a Sauce Gardner, and lock down one half of the field? There's things to be said for each, but let's just go with Sauce as the majority pick here.
Yeah. Well, again, too, right? And here's the classic case of teams maybe overthinking things, right? You had Neal, who a couple months ago, it was like, this guy is going number 1, right? And now we're talking, if he doesn't go to the Jets, do the Giants take him, or do they go in a different direction? Carolina's probably not going to take him. Like, we're now talking like, is he going to fall to like 10th overall or to the top 10 altogether? Like, what's the slide here that we could be seeing with the big fella from Alabama?
I think if Carolina doesn't take Evan Neal and he's there, then Fitterer needs to be fired, because that says to me that that's a panic move. When you have a sure thing like an Evan Neal who can come in and start day one at left or right because he's played both, and he's not your pick, that doesn't make any sense. But I mean, I don't think the fall will be too big. He's too good of a player. He really is. He's too good of a player. And guys who have that much talent, usually if they fall, they'll end up in a better situation after all, because the teams that value what kind of talent they are will use him properly.
Yeah. And that's just it, right? For the prospect themselves, go to a better run franchise isn't always a bad thing there. But everything that I've been reading is all of a sudden the Panthers are now in love with Charles Cross. So again, like another offensive lineman who could be taken over Evan Neal. Like I think here we are, teams are just overthinking things. And I mean, as we say this here, the pick is in. Ahmed Sauce Gardner out of Cincinnati going to the Jets. I mean, the Jets make more than their fair share of mistakes out there. I do not see this being one of them. You know what you're getting out of him. Like, everyone has seen all the ridiculous statistics that have been spouted about him, and how it's essentially just a black hole on whatever side of the field he's on. You might as well just take that wide receiver out of the game plan. Do I think he's going to have that instant impact at the NFL level? No. Do I think he's above average in the NFL from day one? Absolutely. And this is a guy who, again, get him acclimated, and you could be seeing some pretty special things out of him at the NFL level here.
For sure. And I think with Robert Saleh's defense, this kind of highlights defensive player, defensive secondary players. So if you can, put more of an emphasis on him, I think that's when he thrives. Like he thrives when there's more spotlight on him. He thrives when the ball, he knows that it's coming towards him. Yeah. But then, over time, it's going to become a situation where if he lives up to all that potential, the ball's not going to come over to his side. And, that's when defenses really tee off on an offense, when it's like, well, they're not going to throw over there. So let's just kind of shade our defense over to this side. And now we can kind of bracket anything on the other side. And that just helps out so much. And that's when the Jets really had their run, when Rex Ryan was the head coach. They had Darrelle Revis. Yeah. And the reason why they were able to do the things on defense up front was because they knew that they could, slide coverage over to the other side, and they could bring pressure from the other side. So, that just opens up so much more when you have that type of, defensive back there. And, I think I mentioned this to you, like this guy reminds me so much of Champ Bailey. That's all I see when I look at him. Same type of frame, but he's taller, but he just blankets receivers like I've not seen in a long time. So this is a great pick. I think it's a sure pick. And I think he's got the swagger that you need going into a place like New York too.
Yeah. So who's the Clinton Portis-esque running back that he's going to get traded for in a couple of years there then? But no, it's so true, right? Like, I mean, you look at how Sally's defenses ran out when he was with San Francisco, right? And then his first year in, most of the picks that they brought in were on the offensive side of the ball. So again, they needed a lot of help. This wasn't going to be a 2-3 year rebuild. Like it was going to be quite a few years worth of stocking draft picks and making the right selections. But yeah, here he goes. And here's a building block that you can actually center your defense around, right? And you add this in, and they've got a couple other high draft picks coming up as well, too. Add a few more people on that side of the ball. Now we can start getting a better feel for what kind of defensive schemes he wants to actually run in New York, because frankly, he could have been the greatest defensive, minded coach in the history of the NFL. And he still wouldn't have been able to tell based on the roster and the personnel that the Jets have had the last couple of years. Right.
Yeah. And anytime you take over a team from an absolute dumpster fire like Adam Gase, it's going to be a longer rebuild than normal. So, kudos to Robert Saleh for taking on the burden of doing that. And, shame on anyone who has employed Adam Gase over the course of his career, honestly.
Tell us how you really feel about Adam Gase.
Oh, he's terrible. He's the worst coach in NFL history. That's how I feel about him.
There you go.
Everyone likes to, chuck Sam Darnold under the bus. Well, when you're 20 years old coming into the NFL, playing in a market like New York, and you have a coach who doesn't develop you, this is what happens. So anyone who's blaming Sam Darnold for the way that he plays in the NFL now, do not do that. Adam Gase's responsibility as the head coach / offensive coordinator / quarterback coach / guru, that's his responsibility, to make sure that he's ready to play, to make sure he's ready to win football games. You didn't do that. Now you've ruined the kid's potential, because Sam Darnold ultimately had potential to be a fantastic professional quarterback. And here we are.
Anytime you associate the word guru with Adam Gase, you're making some poor life decisions.
Oh my God.
There. If he is your spiritual advisor or life guru or whatever you want to call it. But
yeah, I like how we went from talking about the draft to Adam Gase taking over a good 5-minute conversation.
Oh my God. Tangents galore. Giants are on the clock. Pick is in. If this is not an offensive lineman, like, I mean, hey, you know what? If you want to keep trotting out that O-line and, the Eagles can just keep teeing off on Daniel Jones back there, great, more power to you. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. But if you're the GM and you're not addressing this, what is going on, especially based on who is still left on the board? You've got your pick of any of the offensive linemen that you could possibly want here.
So before the pick comes in, here's my prediction here. They're going to go Thibodeau here, and then they're going to take whoever's left, because there's 3 tackles left. So they're going to take their top guy who's left at number 7. So Thibodeau, and they're going to go tackle after that.
Well, I think Big Blue Nation would be happy with that. Whether that actually pans out or not, hard to say too, right? Because for whatever reason, we could go Evan Neal here, and I don't see it. But for whatever reason, Jermaine Johnson has just rocketed up draft boards all of a sudden. So I wouldn't be altogether surprised if it's Neal and then Johnson at 7 if our friend Thibodeau gets taken ahead of them, right? Like
that could be. It's it'll be interesting to see here. What do we got?
I'm reading the pick right now. Oh, who's up on stage with Goodell? Random Giants fan. He's fired up.
Yeah. I think I'm on a little bit of a delay. You've got me by about 10 seconds here. So
well, just you wait. There's a very enthusiastic young man
there he
on
is.
stage getting the crowd fired up here.
Yeah.
We are getting shades of Acres in Dallas right now, just interacting with the crowd, getting the people going.
Yeah, this is great. You know what? I love to see, the people who come up to make these picks, especially when it's kids. Like these are what makes the draft as good as they are. Like, look at how much this means to him, being up on the stage. It's phenomenal.
And there you go. Kayvon Thibodeau to the New York Giants.
5 for 5. I mean,
why were you even watching the draft here? Just give me the rest of your draft board. Let's save the viewers some time here. Like, let's go. Don't need to go through all the 10-minute pick clocks or anything like that. But again, it makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah.
Because look at what has been the New York Giants identity for decades. Strong defensive lineman, linebacker play. What have they been missing for the past 5 years? Strong linebacker play, defensive lineman. Like this is definitely a throwback pick. Again, Kayvon Thibodeau, someone who is touted as a potential number 1 overall pick, slipped a little bit, didn't have the greatest year out in Oregon, kind of turned it on late. But I guess, here's another case where teams had too much time to think about it. And I think they found flaws in his game, which really aren't huge issues, right? Oh, look at this. He took one of the 12 plays off that game. Like, better slide him down a couple of picks here.
Yeah.
Like, he's a blue chip prospect. He's a smart pick. Any team who had have landed him would have instantly upgraded their defensive line there.
Yeah.
And he can chase runners down. He sets the edge. He does all the things you want out of a modern defensive lineman there, who can even drop back in coverage if need be from time to time. Like he's very versatile. And I think that's kind of the theme of this year's draft is teams will covet versatility. Who can play in multiple schemes, who can do multiple coverages and whatnot. And Thibodeau, he's going to step in there and probably change that defensive pass rush on day 1 in New York.
Yeah, I'm watching these highlights, and the first step that he has is ridiculous. And whenever you can get a defensive end who can just set the edge as well as he does with that first step, it automatically changes the quarterback drop back. And if people don't understand how much that impacts, receiver routes, how much that impacts, the trajectory of the ball coming out of the quarterback's hand, like just without even getting a sack, he's already prevented the quarterback from doing what he wants to do. So I think this is a great pick. Again, we talk about swagger. This guy has the most confidence out of anybody in the draft. You go to a team, look, and the kid's fired up too. I love it. So, he's going to a place that I think will embrace that attitude, right? They embrace guys who have a little bit of swagger to them. Now it can turn if it obviously his play doesn't live up to that. But I think, he's going to be motivated now because like you were saying earlier, he could have been the top pick in the draft, and he was the top pick in the draft probably until mid-season this year. Mm-hmm. But then teams started to pick apart some of the flaws. People at Oregon started to say, well, maybe he doesn't love football as much as he claimed to. Only he knows how much he loves football. But watching his game, I mean, it's no shock that this guy deserves to be a top 5 pick. And I think with, Leonard Williams, you've got Dexter Lawrence, you've got Azeez Ojulari. Now you add Kayvon Thibodeau. That's a pretty formidable front 4 that the Giants can now roll out there. And you still got the 3 best tackles in the draft sitting on the board. And you know that only one of them is probably going to go, in the next pick. Because if Carolina doesn't take a tackle right here, I'll be shocked. but you're getting one of the three. And that's
Yeah.
the best case scenario for the Giants. You've literally gotten the best player on the defensive side at your pick. And now you can come back and take the best offensive player on your side of the pick. So this is masterfully done, if that's the way that it goes, by new GM Joe Sheen and new head coach Brian Daboll over in New York. But I like it. I really do like the approach here. And yeah, look out for the Giants pass rush in 1 or 2 years.
As an Eagles fan, I hate it. I hate that they're doing smart things. As a
why can't they do what Dallas does and overpay everybody and then blow up the roster?
Exactly. But as a sports fan, right, like it's a smart thing to do. And the way that the draft board even shaped up this year couldn't have gone any better for the Giants, right? Like this was their dream scenario of how it ended up landing for them. And, I would assume, like you say, they're getting either Neal or they're getting Cross or they're getting Icky, like one of those three with their next pick, depending on what the Carolina Panthers do here. But even going back to, the comment of there were teams questioning how much he loved football because, he's got cryptocurrency deals. He's got NFT stuff. He's already planning, a hedge fund investment thing for post, playing career. Look at where he ended up. He ended up in like the financial capital. Like there's not a better situation that Kayvon Thibodeau could have wound up in than getting drafted by the New York Giants, right? This is setting him and his family and everyone else in his sphere up for generational wealth. And, he's going to be involved in every endorsement deal known to mankind there. The only question is, right, can he stay out of trouble? Can he focus on football without that becoming too much of a distraction? You know how the New York media loves to turn even the smallest thing into a make or break, this could derail the season type narrative. And I mean, I think for him, the fit is there. The off-field stuff is there. If he can get his head on right, this could be a match made in heaven for the New York Giants and Kayvon Thibodeau, because even when it comes time to negotiate that next contract, he might see all of the things he's got set up in New York, a little hometown discount. Like I'm already projecting this years down the line.
Yeah.
Like this could be a guy who retires as a Giant here.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you hit the nail on the head, and ultimately best case scenario on both sides. So it's all good if you're a New York Giants fan right now, because the draft board is falling exactly your way.
Well, Carolina Panthers pick is in. So this is where we've literally got the splinter in the draft where things could all of a sudden turn into absolute chaos, or they do the responsible thing and go out there and draft an offensive tackle.
Yeah.
Are they responsible enough to do that?
Yeah, I think they have to be. I think that Evan Neal needs to be the pick here. Again, the best tackle on the board. He can play both left or right. He comes from a winning program. He's a great leader, great kid. You don't pass on guys like that. So I think Evan Neal is the new Carolina Panther, and he's going to be there protecting Sam Darnold and helping him get back on track, so that way they can make a run in the very weak NFC South.
Yeah, well, it was the most wide open division until Tom Brady came back, right? Yep. Like think about this. If Tom Brady is not with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and that means, right, Godwin probably leaves. He's not coming back. He would have gone in free agency. They probably would have had a couple other players. Fournette wouldn't have come back. Like they would have lost multiple pieces.
Yep.
Like who would have been the favorite in that division? When you look around those four teams, like, I don't even know how to handicap that.
Yeah. I mean, the Saints are one of those weird teams because they have a very good roster, but they have to blow it up every year because there's so much over the cap. Mm-hmm. Atlanta, who knows what they're going to do, and who knows what they're doing other than just completely gutting the whole thing. And, like we were just mentioning, Carolina, no identity whatsoever. So, yeah,
their identity was go out there, make trades for all the cornerbacks that we possibly can, and still not get it. So there we go. Pick is in. They did do an offensive tackle, but it was not Evan Neal. Icky first off the board for Carolina.
Yeah.
And again, when you're comparing these two, I think they're much closer in skill set wise than, Charles Cross. Charles Cross probably would be the third out of those top three tackles there. But what separates him from Evan Neal in your mind?
To me, he doesn't separate himself at all, because I just think Evan Neal's game just shines when it comes to putting on his tape. The thing that people like about Ekwonu is that he has a mean streak. And whenever you have a mean streak in an offensive lineman, it means good things. I mean, you look at him walking to the stage, like he's a wide-bodied offensive tackle. He can move so well for a guy his size, which obviously bodes well. The thing that I think this indicates to me is that they're going to rely heavily on the run, because by all intents and purposes, people think that Ike Ekwonu is a better run blocker than Evan Neal is, which I don't necessarily agree with, but, they're both fantastic prospects. I don't think you could have gone wrong with either of those guys. If you pick Charles Cross, different conversation. But, Ekwonu is just, I think he's a big, hardworking dude who will solidify the run game. Like, we're going to watch the highlights here. I mean, he's just mean. He's aggressive. Like, that's what you like out of offensive linemen. Like, his punch is good. His feet are good. And he's very athletic in space when he's pulling. So, like, that's the kind of stuff that Carolina likes to do, especially when Christian McCaffrey's back. So now that you got McCaffrey and Chuba Hubbard, you can now use a guy like Ike Ekwonu as a, kind of a multi-tool offensive lineman who can line up at tackle, guard, whatever it may be. And yeah, like I said, he's a good pick. I can't criticize it too much. I would have gone with Neal, but Ekwonu is definitely well worthy of the 6th overall.
Well, this is making my stomach just churn right now
because what's going to happen.
Because it's going to be Thibodeau and Evan Neal are going to end up with the New York Giants. Like, what is going on here?
And who would have thought that, 2-3 months ago?
Not this guy. Unbelievable. Like, the rich get richer, right? Like, these giant media market teams, through nothing that they have earned, just sheer incompetence. They've got the worst record over the last 5 years, and now they just stumble into these generational talents. Like, great. Oh my God.
New York
Giants here.
Who knows? They might surprise you and go back to their old Giant ways and take Charles Cross instead of Evan Neal. And if that happens, then I don't know how to analyze football players anymore, because anyone who doesn't see that Evan Neal is the best, offensive tackle prospect in the draft, typically you're overthinking it. Like we talked about Thibodeau, you're picking apart his game more than you should be. Put on the film. Alabama's in a big game every week, and every year the running backs are having all or nothing years. The quarterbacks are winning Heisman trophies there. And that's for a reason, because you have good offensive linemen coming through. And I think what's happening, and especially in a situation like this, where it comes to a tiebreaker of Neal or Ekwonu, teams are going to look at a guy like an Alex Leatherwood and, he didn't pan out very well because the Raiders are stupid and drafted him as a right tackle when he's never played right tackle in his life. It's going to be a transition, everybody. It's not as easy as people make it out to be. But the thing that differentiates Evan Neal from any other player that's come through there in the last 5-10 years in the offensive line is he's bigger, he's more of a leader, and Nick Saban he's like, if I had to bang the table for one player in this year's draft, it's Evan Neal. And that says something, because Nick Saban, he's as tough on his players as anybody. So again, I'm going to bang the table here for Evan Neal to go to New York, but let's see if Kyle's going to be happy with this one or not.
No, come on, screw it up. Take a kicker. But I mean, again, talk about a way to reset your culture in the span of one day.
Yep.
This could not have shaped up any better for that front office and coaching staff in their dream scenario, right? Like, you even go through it again. They've got to figure out the quarterback. That is far from a slam dunk here, but this wasn't the draft to do it one way or another.
No.
So next year, go out there, find a quarterback of the future. We know the New York Giants aren't shy about making splashy trades, or at least trying to, unless the Philadelphia Eagles swoop in one pick ahead of them and then completely blow up their draft board. And there you go. Evan Neal, F my life here. But, well, you know what? If you're a Giants fan, you're doing backflips.
Just
right now. Like,
go to bed. Go to bed. Nothing else better can happen for you tonight. Just go to bed. Shut it down. Go to bed.
Buy a lottery ticket right now. Go out there, get your favorite numbers. Like, unbelievable. But slam dunk. There's your A+ for your first round draft grade there, New York Giants. There you go.
And a first draft for the GM and head coach. And this is what falls in your like fantastic. And like, this is another thing. Look at Evan Neal. He is 6'7", 340 pounds. Does he look like he's 340 pounds?
No, and that was the video or photo that went viral online. There is like, he's shredded when he takes his shirt off. Like you think like a Vince Wilfork or something there, pot roast from all those years ago, like just these big blobs of human beings. And it's like, nope, this guy looks like the Mountain from Game of Thrones.
And watch the way he moves. Like, that's the most impressive thing to me. Like, his feet are so good for a guy his size. He's able to cut defenders off. He's able to hook defenders on outside zone plays. And like, his pass protection is second to none. I mean, he gets his hands on you. Like, you're watching the highlight right now. Like, that's against the number 1 overall pick, Trayvon Walker. And he's dominating him. Like, absolute domination. And you saw Georgia's defense this year. They were incredible. And Evan Neal was by far the best player on the Alabama offense during that game. So, I mean, this is an absolute home run, slam dunk. Joe Sheen, Brian Daboll, have a day, my friends. Go out and pop some champagne, because it's not going to get any better of a first round for a team. But when you're picking at 5 and 7, you need to hit home runs, and these are grand slams.
Well, the one good thing from this is the closer we get to number 10, the less likely it is that Howie does something stupid and packages both first rounders to trade up to get into that top 10. So that at least makes me happy. Here is the other. Now that Carolina has gone out there and done the responsible thing, this is the other kind of fracture point where things could get real interesting with Atlanta, right? They've been a team who has kind of been linked to Willis a little bit. They haven't come outright and said that they've got interest in it. They could maybe, go out there one more year and see what happens post Matt Ryan, maybe address it next year again in that draft class. Yep. But this is one of those ones where you cannot look at yourself in the mirror and say, we're good at QB here. But even if you do bring in Willis, who's he throwing the ball to, right? So are they going wide receiver? Are they going quarterback? You have to figure it's something on offense here, right?
I think it has to be a wide receiver here. I think that you've got 3 guys who are just far and away better than any other prospect on the board, and they're all receivers. So my favorite, Drake London, big body, 6'5", 215 pounds. Mike Evans clone out of USC. You've got, Garrett Wilson, one of the best route runners in this year's draft class, ran way faster than people expected him to at the combine. That's shot him up draft boards. And then you've got the wild card who is coming off an injury, Jameson Williams, who would have been the first overall receiver hands down had he been healthy. Mm-hmm. So I think you've got your pick of the litter here. You can't screw it up unless you take a position that's not a wide receiver. So I think Atlanta is going to do the right thing here. They know that Kyle Pitts is all they have as far as weapons go on offense. This is a perfect opportunity to surround him, either going with the basketball team with Garrett, with Drake London, or getting that route runner, to kind of fill in the void of not having Calvin Ridley on the field with a Garrett Wilson. So I think it's either going to be Wilson or London with this pick.
Yeah. And again, that's just it, right? Is even if you do go out there and take a Willis, who there is a small segment of Falcons fans who are kind of clamoring for that. What do you do, right? Kyle Pitts, you saw him. He went out there and had a hell of a rookie season, but as soon as Ridley was off the field, teams were just doubling him. They were just blanketing him in coverage. And then Cordarrelle Patterson, what a good feel-good story. But he was only able to do those things because they were so focused on Kyle Pitts that they were like, okay, yeah, scamper around back there. We'll still end up beating you guys.
Yeah.
But like it was a pick your poison type thing. And they probably rightly picked Kyle Pitts over him in the backfield. Right?
I mean, look at the stats that are up on the screen, like last in receiving yards by wide receivers. Kyle Pitts led team in receptions and yards. And then obviously Calvin Ridley suspended for the whole season. Mm-hmm. So if you don't pick a wide receiver here, again, I don't know how to identify talent because the fit makes too much sense to have a receiver come in. So again, they could pick Jameson Williams if they're willing to put in, a waiting year and just kind of, prepare for next year. But I think you got to go with someone who can help you this year. And I think that's Drake London or Garrett Wilson.
Yeah. And there you go. Drake London, wide receiver out of USC, heading to Atlanta.
The basketball team ensues.
Yeah, there you go. It's going to be a lot of speed, a lot of height, and a lot of ball talent on that team. Question is, right, you've still got so many holes on that team on both sides of the ball. They've got needs everywhere.
They got their work cut
as
out
most
for them.
top 10 draft picks, have. But
yeah,
you got edge they probably need, secondary help they certainly need. They address the wide receiver help there. With how deep this wide receiver draft class is, though, I wouldn't even be shocked if you see them double dip here with their next pick coming up in the second, depending who's left there. Like, it wouldn't be a bad idea. And then you've got this core nucleus, all of young ball catchers who are around the same age that you can really build around and really reboot that. Add in that QB on a rookie deal. Now you're cooking something down there, right?
Yeah. Like, a scary thing is, if you were to double dip, you've got some great slot receivers who are going to be around that second pick for them. So you're looking at a Sky Moore or a Jahan Dotson if he falls. Like, these are guys that can make an impact from the slot. But I think what they can also do is they can go and take one of those running backs if they fall. So you got Breece Hall or Kenneth Walker out of Michigan State. Sorry, it's a Michigan State player. I typically don't.
I was going to say you've just got a mental block for any in-state rivals.
The kid who scored 5 touchdowns against Michigan.
I think his name is like John Smith or something. I don't know.
I thought his first name was Touchdown because I kept hearing that during the Michigan State game. Touchdown Walker.
It should be singed into your memory if anything.
Well, no, I like to put that out, but like I said, I think that Atlanta did the right thing here. They got a player that can come in and help them this year, who's also going to be there for a long time. He's only 21 years old. Him and Kyle Pitts together on the same field is absolutely phenomenal. And when you come back, if you nail one of those, because you have an extra second round pick because of the Julio Jones trade too, right? So you can double dip with a receiver and you can add a running back in there. Now your offense has some weapons that you could really utilize with Marcus Mariota back there.
If we look at this from a fantasy football standpoint here, if Breece Hall goes to the Atlanta Falcons, like now we're really looking at someone who could be rocketing up fantasy draft boards come draft time there, because again, you plug him in there and then you just use Patterson as that Swiss Army knife who's just bouncing around. Sometimes he's out wide, sometimes in the slot. Hell, go 2 of them in the backfield, like really get creative with it, which you might need with Marcus Mariota under center this season. So might not be a bad idea. So Falcons, everyone's done responsible things so far.
They have.
Is what I have to say. There have been no shockers. Considering the amount of uncertainty heading into this draft where no one really knew, there was no consensus, like, all right, the top 5 are pretty much set. They might flip, 4 versus 5 or something. But like, everything has been pretty where you thought it was going to be so far.
Yeah.
You look at Seahawks, then Jets, then Commanders, like who's that wild card coming up? Speaking of wild cards, after this take, we've got a wild card coming in here. Our friend from the Front Office Podcast, Jethro, has entered the waiting room.
Oh, get him on and let's see what this man has to say. Now, be warned, everybody. Jethro may say something offensive during his time on here. So, Jet, there he is. There he is.
The man, the myth, the legend himself. Jethro.
Yo.
So
What's going on, boys?
1/3 of the Front Office Podcast talking to you from inside a sardine can, apparently.
Oh my God! Here we go.
Unwrapping a cucumber for reasons unknown. What is happening here?
Hey, listen, I got 4 kids, so I'm making lunches. Okay,
all right. We're making sure this thing isn't getting off the rails within the first 10 seconds of you being on here.
No, that happened last week when I fell asleep.
Yeah. So anyone who doesn't listen to our show, I'm sure there's a lot of you out there. Jet has a tendency to pack it in by about 9:30 every Wednesday night, and being at B420 last week, he definitely had a little bit of a nap during our episode. So it was good, very very quintessential Jethro.
I will say this: there were 32 picks in that mock draft. I do not remember anything after pick 13. I legitimately don't. And all I remember was I made myself comfortable. And then I remember Kyle saying, well, thanks for tuning into the show, folks. and that was it.
Jethro was the equivalent of that guy who shows up and just sets his fantasy football draft to auto draft there. He was there. He was there for the pizza, the beer, all of that good stuff. But the actual picks themselves were secondary in the process there to him.
You guys remember the movie Half Baked with Dave Chappelle?
Oh, of course.
I am the guy on the couch. That is who I feel that I am.
That's your spirit animal, is it?
That is my spirit animal.
I'm on the couch, yo.
I won't stay with y'all too long. I wanted to just come in and say what's up to Kev number 1 and Kyle number 1 and Kyle number 2. And
cut your cucumber and log off, man. You've already ruined it.
No, listen. Can someone explain to me why the Falcons took a receiver before a quarterback?
We literally just talked about it. If you were watching the live stream, you would understand why they did it.
Well, I was cutting cucumbers. I like them out.
You weren't even at that part yet. You were unwrapping your cucumbers still. This
is true. I'm slow. I'm real slow.
Yeah. So Jet, like we discussed it again, because you don't remember the conversation that we had, during the mock draft last week. So you traded down because you actually had the Falcons pick when you were actually selecting. So you traded down so that way you could, figure out your life and, figure out what Atlanta needed to do. But Atlanta basically has no receivers, and Kyle Pitts is the only thing they have as a weapon right now. So they needed to address it. And the fact, look at this. The Seattle Seahawks are up on the clock and the pick is in. But anyways, Atlanta needed to bring in a receiver. So we were just saying, do you want to go with the basketball team with having Kyle Pitts and Drake London? Or do you want to have filling in for Calvin Ridley, bringing in a guy like Garrett Wilson to take over? So, Drake London, you know how I feel about Drake London, Jet.
I do, but picking Drake London, the Falcons, is a bit of a gamble.
Nice.
He's here all week, folks.
Yeah.
Tip your waiters.
Brought to you by a Dine Sports sponsor, Bet.
Well, he's staying on brand. He's got the Human 2.0 shirt on right now. So he's got some product placement going on.
So Jet, while you're on, give a plug to Human 2.0, who's one of the other proud sponsors of the Front Office Podcast.
Hey, world-class facility, fully integrated healthcare facility. We got everything you need, man. We got top-of-the-line trainers. We got physios, except me. I'm not that smart. And we have a fantastic medical team. So anyone looking to rehab, prehab, or get in shape, come to Human 2.0.
There we go. And as he finishes up his plug, Charles Cross off the board to the Seahawks. Offensive tackle.
As we're talking, I'm texting when my brother's like, who are they going to take? I literally said, if they don't take Charles Cross, they're stupid.
All right, gents, you keep doing your thing. I will hop onto the live stream to keep watching. But thanks for having me on for my 30 seconds.
Cut those cucumbers, buddy.
Hey, it's already done.
Onto the tomatoes.
Yeah. Who knew this was a crossover event, cooking show and NFL draft? There we go.
All
I
right.
love it. I love it. Peace out,
All
man.
right, Jet.
So smart pick here. I mean, the Seattle Seahawks definitely needed offensive line help. There was only one of the top prospects left on the board, so no real shock that Cross goes here. I mean, Seattle needs a lot of things, and I think that they're going to be in rebuild mode for more than just a season here.
Yeah.
I'm really interested to see not so much even the fact that they're going out there and rebuilding the offensive line and doing the responsible thing, but how much longer, given his age, given the fact that they're now probably going to be at the bottom of the NFC West for the foreseeable future, how much longer is the Pete Carroll era going to last out West in your mind?
I mean, Pete Carroll might be 70 years old, but you would never know it. You know, listening to him talk, watching him move around the field, like he literally is 50 years old in his mind. So he's
Those New Balance shoes, they keep him spry. Let me tell you.
The dad shoes. Wait till he gets the Air Monarchs on from Nike and he gets that sponsorship deal. Then it's a whole new ball of wax. But
yeah.
I think Pete is he's going to be there for as long as he can physically be there. I think that's bottom line. It's going to be like a Tom Coughlin situation, right? Like Coughlin obviously couldn't really do a lot of the things that he was able to do 20 years before, but he was such a good football mind that I think teams just wanted to have him involved. And that's why you see teams like the Giants and Jaguars keeping him around. I think that Seattle's got a good thing going, even though they just blew everything up by taking, the Russell Wilson factor out of Seattle. But this is the way that you have to do it. You have to, maximize returns, and you have to, cut ties with franchise icons eventually, or otherwise you find yourself in these situations where, you're having to do a complete rebuild instead of kind of reloading on the fly. So, I think Pete is there for as long as he wants to be. I mean, probably looking at another 5-6 years. But then, hopefully he leaves in a good shape, and, bringing guys in like Charles Cross who can take over and be a franchise left tackle for, the next 10 years, hopefully, that's going to put them in a good position to hand the keys over to someone else. And especially because they got the number 40 and 41 picks as well. That's a pretty good spot to be in if you're going to retool.
I'm going to zag a little bit here. I'm going to say this is my prediction. This is Pete Carroll's last season as a head coach. And then he transitions, as you mentioned, with Tom Coughlin. He moves up to whatever, president of football operations or one of those fancy titles there, and stays with the Seahawks because I think he's got a good thing going up there, right? He obviously loves that Pacific Northwest vibe. He's just waiting on the Carroll signature shoe to come out from Nike and whatnot. But he obviously still loves football. He certainly doesn't act his age in the sense of how he's moving out there and whatnot. So I don't think he's going to quit the sport anytime soon.
Yeah.
But I see this being an ugly season for the Seattle Seahawks, especially if Drew Lock does indeed end up being their starting quarterback, not just for a little while, but for the entire season. I think the playbook's kind of out on him. We know what to expect. You can dress it up as much as you want. Oh, untapped potential. They didn't use him right out in Denver, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I don't know what you're watching, what game film you've seen out of him, but I think we kind of have what we have out of our friend Drew Lock there. So I think it's going to be a long emotional toll on good old Pete, and whether he chooses to move to the front office or it's one of those backroom conversations as far as, all right, Pete, we got to, go in a bit of a different direction. Come on up here. We'll give you a fancy title and you can hobnob from the Sky Suite instead of being on the sidelines every Sunday there.
Yeah. Well, again, I think that'll be up to Uncle Pete whenever he decides to make that move. So I think he's earned it. Obviously he's put in a good run there. So we'll see. This one's interesting. So the Jets' second pick, and this is one that we were talking about last week when we were recording our mock draft episode, and I think that Kyle Hamilton screams this pick right now.
Which is why they immediately go out and take Garrett Wilson out of Ohio State.
Really? Wow.
And here to help us break down the pick, another Kirkwood clan member. We've got Ryan Kirkwood in the waiting room about to join us here. Let's bring him on in.
So the best part about what he's going to talk about is that he is, I don't know who's a bigger Eagles fan / hater other than you or him. So, look at him. He's got the skull cap on and everything.
He's ready to go.
So
Yeah.
everybody, the man of the people of the Front Office Podcast, my big brother Ryan, has joined the live stream. What's going on, man?
Nervous as all hell. I've been running for the last hour and 5 minutes trying to get some stress because my trust level in Roseman is very low.
Well, you're preaching to the converted here. It got extra dicey when Kyle started texting me saying, "Oh, he's looking to package both the picks to move up into the top 10." And I'm just praying we get it. We're finally out of the top 10 now, so thank Christ that didn't happen. But yeah, it's either going to go one of two ways, right? With the Philadelphia Eagles, they're either going to hit a home run, or it's going to be some kid out of like Anchorage, Alaska that no one's heard of and even had in their top 200 that gets selected at like 15th overall.
Yeah. Well, it's not a big deal, right? Metcalf didn't turn out to be that great. Jefferson isn't nearly as good as we thought he was, so no big deal. Rieger's just as good.
For the rest of every Eagles fan's life, they're going to go over those two drafts in detail. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens with the two guys who Philadelphia chose instead of them. So the funny part is, I'm just going to throw this out there as well. So JJ Arcega-Whiteside is no longer a receiver. He has transitioned to tight end for Philadelphia. And Jalen Reagor, I think to both of your delight, is now being put on the trading block. So they're finally giving up on the Jalen Reagor experience. But, good luck getting anything for that guy.
Can't wait for the box of Krispy Kreme donuts that we'll get in return for him there. Like, Jesus Christ. But while we're, lambasting the Eagles here, speaking of the NFC East, the Washington Commanders have just made a trade with the New Orleans Saints. They haven't released what the trade is yet, but the Saints are officially on the clock here at number 11. Is this going to be our first QB off the board, or who are they trading up to get here?
Well, to me, I think that they're looking at a guy like a Malik Willis, or again, there's a guy who's fallen down the draft boards, quite a lot right now, or two guys, I should say. No one expected them to be there at 11. Jermaine Johnson out of Florida State, or Kyle Hamilton out of Notre Dame. I mean, guys that guys that New Orleans wouldn't even be sniffing if they stayed where they were. So I think the fact that they're falling, that might entice them to trade up. And again, the last time New Orleans traded up in a draft, they traded up for Marcus Davenport, who's a defensive end. So maybe this is one of those things where they're trying to solidify the other side. Cam Jordan's getting a little bit old. This is, could be one of those things. Or who knows, maybe Malik Willis has been getting some heat and they want to jump ahead of some of these teams coming up. But I personally think it's either Johnson or Hamilton who they're trading up for here.
Set it off the top. I don't see the Johnson love. I think he's a first rounder. I don't think he's someone you need to trade up all the way and mortgage some future to get. Will he be a productive player? Probably. Will he be a perennial Pro Bowler? Well, we'll see. But, I would be putting money on the other side there. But again, there's someone who probably would have been the number one wide receiver off the board had it not been for an injury, and that's Jameson Williams. And they had been previously linked to really liking him and hoping that, the Philadelphia Eagles didn't go out there and take him. So this might be that opportunity for them to hop ahead of someone who was going to end up taking him and just completely crush Ryan and I's hearts.
Well, I think
let's go New Orleans then.
I think the two of you are on different wavelengths, though, because Ryan, what do you want out of the two Philadelphia picks coming up?
I want preferably I want a defensive end and a linebacker. That's what I want. I want all defense with my first two picks.
I think you want all defense with all 11 picks that Philadelphia has.
Because Philadelphia doesn't have a good defense.
I would be happy with corner. I would be happy with if Hamilton somehow falls to 15. I would be doing backflips if that happens.
I was just going to say, what would you do in the sense that if Kyle Hamilton and Garrett Wilson, or sorry, not Garrett Wilson, but Jameson Williams both fall to number 15?
Oh, you got to take Hamilton because he's not falling much further than that. Jameson Williams, you can at least roll the dice on saying, okay, maybe there's some injury concerns, and you got a pick coming up a few selections later. And, you look at, so again, we haven't even heard what the Saints gave up. I've got to assume it's one of their picks there. So, is it the one between the Eagles? Is it 16 that they traded? So if it's 16 and Washington's there, are they going to go out and get a wide receiver? Probably not. Chargers definitely aren't going to go out and get a wide receiver, I wouldn't imagine. And so then you're back on the clock, right? So I think he's the safer one, but there's not a chance in hell that Kyle Hamilton is still there at 18, because even if the board stays as is, someone else is going to be like, well, I'll move up a couple of slots there and get this guy out of Notre Dame. So I would take him at 15, and then you can look at maybe wide receiver, cornerback, defensive lineman, linebacker. But I mean, Ryan, if you want linebacker, who do you like better? Are you liking Lloyd or Nakobe Dean out of those top two sort of upper linebackers?
Personally, I think Dean fits our team better. He's one of those guys you can put at multiple positions. He's got the speed. He can cover pretty much any tight end or any slot receiver in the league. So I'd probably go Dean. Lloyd's a beast, but I think Dean's game overall is just overall better than Lloyd.
Yeah, and I kind of agree too, right? He's more of a sideline to sideline player, Nakobe Dean, and he really brings that personality that I think has been missing on that Eagles defense since like Brian Dawkins.
Yeah,
he's got a lot of that vibe to me. So I'd be thrilled if they went out and got him.
New Orleans looks thrilled with their pick, by the way.
Yeah.
If any gets any livelier in that draft room, a funeral is going to break out.
Oh man. Yeah, did the Washington Commanders just pull a Kevin Costner on draft day and somehow swindle the Saints here? Like, what's going on? But I think Devin Lloyd just screams Patriots at number 21 to me. I see him going out there and being a very Belichick-esque player. He's a little bit quieter, more of a yes sir, no sir, takes direction a little bit well. Belichick tends to like those guys more than the fiery competitors and outspoken personalities, other than Randy Moss, who I still don't understand how that marriage ever worked, but clearly something clicked between those two.
Well, I think that started out as a jersey sale technique and then just turned into Moss just being so good that you can fit any system, and Belichick just got him to work with it.
Yeah.
Moss is one of the smartest football players to ever play the game. Don't get that twisted, anybody who's watched Randy Moss. He wasn't just athletic. He understood football better than most people. I mean, anyone who watched The Last Dance, you're listening to Dennis Rodman explain his art of rebounding. That's how Randy Moss understood the art of high pointing of football. So, again, sometimes the marriage just fits, and yeah, let's see what happens with the Saints here.
So I'm watching this on mute in the background so that we don't pick up the noise. What is happening? Why do we have Chiefs and Chargers on the stage to announce the New Orleans pick?
I have no idea.
That's what I'm trying to figure out right now too. I thought Tony Gonzalez. I'm like, what's he doing up there?
Sleeper agent Tony Gonzalez has now traded the newly acquired pick.
No. Basically, these are the four new owners of the New Orleans Saints who are just marching up on the stage to announce the pick.
Yeah.
It's always funner when you can speculate when it's on mute, so it doesn't actually have to be the exact thing.
Yeah, they're announcing that Patrick Mahomes has been traded.
Patrick Mahomes is still a member of the Kansas City Chiefs, but has purchased the majority stake in the New Orleans Saints.
Whatever they're going on about, this is a whole dog and pony show that is happening right now. They are really milking this draft announcement here.
As long as Howie doesn't walk up on stage right now, I don't really care. But
I think
is that Howie Roseman's music?
If that happens,
I would go flying.
Yeah, I think I would see myself only on the screen if that happened, and I'd be doing the rest of the show by myself.
The live stream is now in your hands, Kyle. Good Lord.
How fast can we get down to Vegas?
Yeah. Oh man, no, I don't think Howie would be getting back on a plane. You'd have to live in that draft room for the rest of his life. But whatever's happening here, folks, they are, I guess the Detroit making their pick within the first 20 seconds of their allotment there has thrown off the flow of the evening. Apparently,
been a
they gotta
very
get
fast-
some fillers.
It's been very fast so far. It's literally been an hour to make 11 picks. Like, that's unheard of for an NFL draft.
Normally, this is like a 5-hour affair. So
I
there
know.
you go. Finally, Chris Olave from Ohio State. So they did take the wide receiver, not the one that I thought they were going to take, but
That's interesting. Very, very interesting.
clearly banking on giving Jameis some more weapons down there.
So Olave, as a Michigan fan, I'm so happy he's done in college. I'm ecstatic. I don't have to see him catching touchdowns against Michigan anymore. This guy's
And that Michigan State guy there.
Yeah. Listen, like I said, I tried look at Lou Bega as part of Chris Olave's family. Fantastic.
There you go.
Mambo
Got a little
number
Broncos
5 going
like-
up to the stage here. But yeah, Chris Olave is one of the best route runners in college, and I think he's going to continue that into the pros. I mean, just way earlier than I think anyone anticipated. I can't get over this Lou Bega looking guy. Who is that?
It's Lou
I think
Bega.
Uncle Lou.
Yeah.
I think that's
and-
my only question with the pick is did you have to trade up to get him? I don't know. I think he would have been available later on.
Well, apparently not, man, because Olave was kind of one of those guys who was shooting up a little bit. But yeah, I mean, the fact that he's gone this early. Did you guys just see the trade that was just announced?
Yeah, what is going on here? Like, clearly, we
The
can't
Lions.
watch this on mute anymore here.
The
The
Lions.
Lions from the top rope are now picking at number 12 here.
How much did they give up to move up 20 spots?
Does it already say the pick is in? Like did they? Like
Yeah.
they're running up to fast than the Jaguars did back in the day.
I love it. No, the Lions know what they want. They're going up to get their guys. So
Listen, yeah, Dan Campbell thinks that the NFL draft is run like the NFL combine and that his pick times are recorded. So,
I got 4.4 to get up there.
yeah.
well, because he's got the 2 venti, extra caffeine espressos that he gets from Starbucks every day. So he's just like everything's moving in slow motion for him right now. He thinks he's taking an hour to make these picks, and he's making them in 10 seconds.
He's actually operating at a hummingbird like speed right now. It's like Apu when he drinks the all syrup squishy. The Simpsons there.
But yeah,
I'm picturing
anyone who
Jim Carrey.
Yeah, anyone who had Chris Olave going number 11 in the draft should have put money on that because that would have paid out massively.
Well, this is good too because 11 picks in.
Exactly. We're
And,
3
and
receivers
our
deep, buddy.
over on the wide receivers is looking pretty good right now. So
All right, so this is interesting. Are they trading up to get a quarterback, or are they trading up to get Jameson Williams?
I don't know. And here I am. I'm scrolling Twitter to try and figure it out. And all I've got is Rappaport saying, the Lions are now on the clock. A big trade. It's like, thanks, Ian. We saw the graphic go across there.
They moved
Real
up-
insider information there, you jackass. Good Lord.
As if Kenny Pickett's going with number 12. I mean, no offense to Kenny Pickett. Sorry, man. Yeah, I don't know. I actually honestly don't know what's happening with this pick. Like, if they trade up for a quarterback, good on them. I mean, that's a bold move. But, Jameson Williams, Kyle Hamilton, Jermaine Johnson, like 3 guys dropping out of the top 10 that should have been there.
Just better not be friggin' Pickett because that blows up our Willis first quarterback off the board pick there. So.
Yeah. If it's Willis, I'm okay with it. At least it keeps the parlay intact.
Yeah.
And it's getting, what's funny is that it's getting closer to the Eagles pick, and I can already sense the nervousness on both of you already.
We're starting to tighten up a little bit over here.
The analysis isn't as in depth. It's coming out too.
The draft isn't fun anymore. It's getting
It's not.
serious.
It really isn't.
Oh, good Lord.
I'm glad I have it on mute though, because I keep seeing Booger McFarland and Mel Kiper talk, and the best part about this is not hearing what they're saying.
This is what we're saying, people. Just mute the draft and listen to us. So
listen to us. It's so much better.
12th overall and a 2022 second for the 32nd, 34th, and a 2022 third.
That's actually not bad.
Not really that steep a price to move up, as you say, 20 spots in the draft.
That's actually, what is Minnesota doing?
That trying to save more money.
I don't know, guys.
That makes zero sense to me. That literally makes zero sense. How does that happen? Like, you gave up a second rounder.
Williams.
Wow.
Jameson Williams.
See,
well, now enough wide receivers are off the board that this is playing into Ryan's favor here, where it probably should be all defensive players now for the Eagles, which scares me. Because if Howie does want to split it and go offense defense, what's he doing here?
What?
That's the scary part, is like what's left on the board, and you're sitting there being like, what's he going to take with a first round pick right now?
Watch him take Trevor Penning and just ruin everyone's night.
Philly's on the board. Philly's up. They're on the board.
What is happening? What is happening here?
This is the best thing in the God. They got it. It's got to be Hamilton. It's got to be Hamilton.
They don't take Hamilton. I'm going to throw this thing now.
Wow. I thought we could last a little longer before we needed this, but holy fuck, what is going on here? Things like are getting off the rails. We started off with such...
We can swear this whole time and you haven't told me?
When the Eagles are on the board, everything is available here. I'm sweating. Like, what is happening? After just watching, them only need to give up 32, 34, and a third.
And they're going to give up more for this.
And the Eagles, I guarantee you, just package both of their first rounders to move up like 3 spots. Guaranteed. That's just what happened.
Nothing is making me happier than watching the two. This is exactly how I imagined it when this was happening. And the fact they've traded up while Ryan is on the call is the best thing in the world.
I'm glad that your Christmas came in the month of April here, because this is my nightmare.
This is so good. Like,
the pick is in. All right, again, so Ryan, what's your prediction here? If it's not Hamilton, or are we just folding the franchise? If
it's not Hamilton, I'm done. I'm not going to stay on for the next pick, because there probably isn't a next pick, because the idiot probably gave it away. But if it's not Hamilton, I'm not sticking around. I got to go back in the treadmill and burn off another 1,000 calories.
If he traded up,
rage calories.
if he traded up to get Trent McDuffie, I swear it's going to be the funniest thing in the world.
Fucking
he's going to make a
stupid Howie.
He's going to make a stupid pick.
This is for anyone who wants to know, like, what does it feel like to just have acid reflux? Like, this is a pretty good indication of it, because like I feel like simultaneously wanting to throw up and just curl up into a ball, but I'll also punch things, and so
what's gonna make this worse is they're gonna make some stupid pick, and then Dallas is gonna trade up and take Hamilton, and then I'm really gonna lose. That's what Dallas does. Dallas takes the guys that I want.
So Dallas, for all the knocks on Jerry Jones, and trust me, I would, if you put a gun to my head and said it's Howie or Jerry making your picks, I generally don't know who I would pick there. That's like a Sophie's choice. But at least with Jerry, you know what you're getting. They're coming from one of like 10 blue blood schools. That's his entire realm. You know it's going to be someone that you've at least heard of. With
or
Howie,
Johnny Manziel.
It could be some Div 3 friggin' guy from buttfuck nowhere, Wyoming. That again, like, this is absolutely unpredictable when it comes to the Philadelphia Eagles front office.
This could not be
or a wide
better.
receiver that played 5 games and they're like, yeah, he looks okay, I guess.
This water boy on this team, 6'7". You should have seen him sprint when someone dropped a towel, though.
The towel boy ran into a laundry list of problems. But getting away from the Eagles for a second.
Forget about the Eagles.
Yeah.
Rabble.
Crazy part about what just happened in the draft. So you had Garrett Wilson, Chris Olave, and Jameson Williams go back to back to back. At one point, all three of those guys were on the Ohio State roster as receivers. Like, that's insane when you think about that. 10, 11, and 12 first-round picks all were part of the same receiving core at one point. Ridiculous. Now, back over to the to the Skinner and Ryan show.
Okay, all right.
I'm enjoying this.
I've got the trade here. I've got the trade. So Eagles trade.
Can't wait to hear this.
They traded the 15th, 124, 162, and 166 to move up to 13. So I'm all right with that. We still have our second first rounder.
That's not
Everything
bad.
else was 124 or beyond. So
That's not bad.
I'm not losing.
Okay.
I'm not going to lose it yet. I'm not going to lose it yet. Then
That's not bad.
bullet number 1 dodged. Far from out of the woods yet here, though. Good Lord.
Yeah. Oh man.
now here's my thing. If Howie could somehow pull off, if he does take Hamilton here, he could somehow pull off getting Dean right after this, we got a very solid defense going into next year.
Yeah, add in a little bone broth. You got yourself a nice little stew going there. So, okay, we got the Texans traded out of 13.
Everyone's
you
calm.
look at
Everyone's calm now
Yeah.
until the pick is made.
Well, I'm just looking at how the board shapes up after this, right? So the Eagles are now at 13. You got the Ravens at 14. The Texans, who now move back to 15. Who knows what they're going to do? They need everything.
Yeah.
So everything's on the board there. And then, yeah, we still have 18. So you got the Chargers ahead of them there. And then, what was it? Saints traded with the Commanders, didn't they?
Yep.
At number 11. So, yeah, Washington, don't really know what direction they go in, but like Washington is someone who I'm shocked didn't take Hamilton. I thought that would have been such a natural fit for them at 11. But hey, if we end up getting them, that's I'm more than happy with that outcome.
I'm just going to keep enjoying my delicious Smoke Shack and BTP Smokehouse mac and cheese here while you two
Top
discuss the Philadelphia top 10.
Yeah. And this is the also disgusting part here is of how he completely butchers these two, and the Giants went out and got Thibodeau and Neal. Ugh.
Yeah.
Oh, good Lord.
And that's
No,
the
you know
other
what,
best part.
The Giants had it like that. There was both solid picks for the Giants. They just increased their team's worth by a ton.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. What is
And I
going
hate
on
it.
with the draft in the sense, though, that wasn't the original plan they were going to like ferry boat these guys out into the middle of the Bellagio fountain and all of that? And
That was last year. That was
looks like
so
they're just-
it was so last year.
Oh, yeah. No. 2022 better put them in the middle of a parking lot like they've got them right now. Like,
They're in a garden maze. You see how many guys are getting lost trying to get up to the stage?
Well,
You got to turn right or left. What is it up here?
the funniest part with Sauce Gardner is it literally took him, and like the pick was already like about to be announced, and he hadn't made it up to the stage yet.
it looked like the Weekend at that halftime show, the Super Bowl, when he was in the mirror room and going all around. Didn't know whether to turn left or right. So,
Yeah.
All right, folks, you're about to either see Ryan immediately log off and me vomit onto my computer, or we're going to be pleasantly surprised. Those are the only two outcomes here.
Well, there's a couple outcomes where I'd be okay, but there's a lot of outcomes right now where I'm going to lose, where I could lose my mind.
Any picket.
Oh my God. Don't even blow up our part of me is kind of worried that they take Willis here. But,
So we hate the guy that we have. Let's take a guy who's exactly like him. The stress levels are so good. And again, I'm on tape delay, so I'm really looking at your reactions to see who it is.
Well, yeah, Goodell's just dapping up a bunch of high school football players right now, it looks like. So
If you really like, for some reason, they just know that me and you really want to hear this pick. They're just going to draw this out as long as they can.
Yeah. And now to sing the Star Spangled Banner.
We've got 17 Make-A-Wish kids up here that all need a wish, so we'll give them a chance to do it.
Yeah. This kid's going to fight John Cena for the Anytime Championship here. Yeah, they're really milking this thing here. We're going to get every one of these kids' backstories. Susie is a collegiate level softball player who is a 4.0 GPA.
Yeah, I'm okay with this pick. I'm not pumped, but I'm okay with it.
Well, Jordan Davis, so to Georgia. So
once again, I don't think you needed to trade up for that. But
no,
okay.
No.
Yeah, you did. Baltimore was going to take him. The big fella out of Georgia, and my draft hopes just went up in flames.
So I'm not losing it yet. I'm okay with it. I'm not pumped, but I'm okay.
Listen, Fletcher Cox doesn't have that many years left. This guy just adds something to that defensive line that, again, you want to have. So the guy's nickname is Godzilla. Need I say more?
Go on.
That's because he only has Asian friends.
But look at the size of him. 6'6", 340 pounds, and like 4.78 at the combine. Insane.
Well, we talked earlier about the fact that, the New York Giants, for decades, it was defensive line and linebackers, and that's what they hung their hat on. The Philadelphia Eagles were second last in the league in sacks last year. Is he really going to come in and get sacks? No, not necessarily. He's more of clogging up that middle and run stopper and can get outside. But at the same time, that frees up a huge spot on that rotation on that defensive line where they can filter in Cox and they can filter in some of the older vets who were struggling to stay healthy last year and maybe get them loose a little bit more often. But like Ryan mentioned, are we sure that we needed to trade up for it? All I can say is thank God they didn't give up much, right? Like it was a 2023, 2 5th rounders and an extra 4th rounder to move up a couple spots. So, I'm not going to lose too much sleep over that, but
that's a good pick.
I hope to God that the next pick is one of the guys that we've been talking about here. We've mentioned pick. Quite a few players, and there's not that many choices still to go between now and 18.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. Great pick by Philly. I think that you guys are very much underselling this. He won 2 major awards last year, national champion. Like he's a very, very good player who's only going to get better. So, I don't know.
The only graphic that they've had up for the past 30 seconds is inconsistent pass rush effort. So,
what though?
With our secondary, we need a good pass rush because they can't cover for very long.
Yeah. If Mel,
which is why we wanted Hamilton.
Yeah. if Mel Kiper's saying that though, take it with a grain of salt. Because usually, he's like he's like Skip Bayless in the sense that if he's really adamant on something, bet the other thing because it's probably going to be accurate. So,
I'm still not convinced that Kipper's not a Muppet. I don't see a mover. He kind of looks like one of those old men in the balcony. Does he not?
He is. He's like Stadler and Waldorf. That's like you two right now, Stadler and Waldorf from the balcony.
We're more like pessimistic and skeptical. All right, Ravens took 0 time to get their pick in here, though. Like I didn't even see a countdown happening, and they've been standing up waiting for the pick to get announced for a while. So now you just thought that they were going to take our friend out of Georgia there. So who did they run to the podium to get their pick in to get?
I think it's either going to be. I mean, it's hard to not. I'm going to say Kyle Hamilton with every pick, but you look at Jermaine Johnson's falling down too. Like he fits what they do. A wild card here, and I know we all like wild cards. Trevor Penning, tackle out of Northern Iowa, because they need to solidify their offensive line. So that might be a sneaky pick here. Look at like Kuiper talks so fast, and I'm not even listening to him, but I can just envision in my head he's just jammering on about nothing.
As opposed to the in-depth analysis you are getting live right here,
Absolutely.
ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Well, there's a couple different directions Ravens could go here, but I think we're probably in agreement. Pardon me. It's either offensive line or defensive line. I think it's going to be a big boy who gets their name called here.
Kyle Hamilton is not happy in that green room.
No. I think his agent told him a lot of things, and none of the scenarios he laid out had him falling out of the top 10, I don't think.
Well, Hamilton, if it weren't for his injury, he would have been top 3. But
people are so concerned about his 40 time, which I think is ridiculous. Like, he ran a 4.57 at the combine, whatever. He ran like a 4.7 at his pro day. Watch him with pads on. He is fast when it comes to game speed. He covers a ton of ground. And he's 6'4", 230 playing safety. Like, people, stop overanalyzing everything about these prospects and just pick a player that will make you better. That's all it's about. And yeah, I mean, it's totally unfair. I think that Kyle Hamilton deserves to be a top 5 pick every day of the week. But hey,
the only reason a free safety would need speed is if he can't read an offense. If you can read an offense, you don't need speed. You're already there. Of course,
yeah.
They took him. They took him.
They took him?
They did.
Yeah. Again, like, I think smart teams like Baltimore.
Brought to you by our good friends at the McAllen.
Baltimore falls ass backwards into these types of picks every single year. And
he's got another Ed Reed. Like,
yeah,
that's what he's going to be.
As a Pittsburgh
fast,
fan, as a Pittsburgh fan, I hate this because obviously you know that our quarterback play is very sketchy.
Welcome to how we've been feeling the entire draft since the first 7 picks. Come join us. The water is warm, Kyle. Oh man,
this is such a good pick though, and I just hate that it's Baltimore, but such a good pick.
Yeah,
he's an amazing player, like an amazing football player.
All the highlights you're seeing on screen right now shows him going sideline to sideline, right? Okay. In what world does a free safety need to win a 40-yard dash foot race with a speedy wide receiver? Like, 1 in a million times would he be lined up with a friggin' Tyreek Hill out there? Like, it wouldn't happen as often as you need it to be. Him being side to side is so much more important than his 40-yard dash time, which scared off people inexplicably. But
yeah,
good for the Baltimore Ravens. Must be nice to have a competent front office.
Well, if I wasn't a Philly fan, I would 100% be a Baltimore Ravens fan because I love defense and they always pick solid defense.
Yep.
Yeah, there's not a lot of reaches that they make there. It's not a lot of, let's try and project this guy 3 years down the line might be something. Like, they take blue chip prospects.
Yeah. And this guy is a blue chip prospect. And I mean, Ryan, obviously you're a Philadelphia fan, but also a very avid Notre Dame fan as well. So gotta feel good about this one.
I'm a huge Kyle Hamilton fan. Like, I've been watching him since he first started Notre Dame, and he did amazing things for Notre Dame. So I would have loved to have seen him wearing green, but he'll do good things in the NFL. And I'm just glad he's not in my conference. I'm glad he's in yours.
Yeah, just keep on loading up the AFC because they don't have enough firepower there already.
So it's nice knowing that the Eagles only have to win like 8 games in a season. They'll still make the playoffs.
Like,
nice
the NFC can sleepwalk into the championship this year because, but yeah,
thank God for that.
Houston didn't waste any time with this pick.
Wow, I mean, they've got so many needs. They probably just spun a wheel and whatever it landed on, it was like, all right, we'll take this guy here. But
look at this. NFL draft comparison, Jalen Ramsey, they don't even play the same position, Kuiper. Like, you can't make the comparison that they're the same player.
For those that are watching, Kyle loves NFL analysts. He is a huge fan of them. Buys all of their books that they put out, follows them all on social media there. Loves them. Can't get enough of them. He especially loves Schefter.
Especially Adam Schefter. He is the absolute, the go-to person for anything competent in the football announcing realm. So, I don't know. I think that Jermaine Johnson is, the next guy who makes the most sense here. I mean, Houston does need everything. They can get a pass rusher in there. They already, added to their secondary. So, but like, that's crazy. Like, I'm sure you guys have already seen that stat. Look at where Kyle Hamilton's lined up.
You're wrong again, Kyle.
Wrong again?
Wrong again.
I love being on delay and you ruining it for me. It's great.
Kenyon Green, guard out of Texas A&M. That's our first kind of out of there pick of the night.
That is so early.
Everyone that has been selected so far maybe has gone a little bit out of order, but is probably within, I don't know, 5 picks of where their sort of pick was going to be, right? Like the Eagles might have been the biggest stretch with their pick up to this point. Everyone else kind of like, oh, this guy's around? Oh, great. But this is, someone who a lot of projections, like late first round. Like this is someone who might have ended up on, like a Chiefs or something if they decided to go O-line. But yeah, this is definitely a interesting selection. And Washington has run up to the board. I've never seen picks come in so fast in my life. It's almost like they've got plans for later in the evening. Right? It was weird. Where's the draft being held? What could they be up to?
But this is good, though, because it lets us get out of here that much earlier. We were prepared for a long night. It's not going to be that long anymore. But
I don't know if the viewers have been paying attention. I've been pulling snacks. I'm literally here expecting to sleep over, essentially. Like I've got enough to last me through till daylight in the morning here. So this is great.
Did anybody else see Kenyon Green's reaction when they went live to his house? He does not look happy to be going to Houston.
Which is a little bit concerning because he's went to Texas A&M. So
that's on the other side of Texas, though.
Oh yeah, because it's it's pretty much Canada over there, right?
That's a far drive.
It's like from going from northern Quebec to, let's say, Toronto. It's a good hike. But he's a big fella.
You got to think though, if that's who they wanted the entire time, they were probably trying to trade down even further. Just nobody else was biting on it.
100%.
Which is why it was so shocking that they literally didn't bleed their draft pick clock down and see if a late, oh, hey, you sure you don't want to revisit that proposition we just made you? They took it with like a minute into their pick clock. So I think everyone's got to just, have tickets to Cirque du Soleil or get to a blackjack table or something tonight. Like
it's Vegas, man. I'm telling you, that's probably what's happening. Evil Knievel the third is performing outside of the Bellagio. He's going to jump the fountain. Something's going on.
Mike Tyson, he's still got it.
So, Kyle, you obviously talked a lot about the marriage between Kenny Pickett and the Commanders. You think they still go with old small hands, even though they made the Wentz trade?
Well, I'm hoping not now for our bet here, but this is number one, shaping up phenomenal for your Steelers if they are actually serious about Willis being their guy, because they're creeping ever closer. And you look at who's picking in front of them, no one that needs a quarterback. So
yeah,
it's shaping up well for you if that's the direction they go in. I thought Pickett to the Commanders simply because Willis was probably going to be gone, because at that point we were thinking, okay, who's going to trade up? Someone's going to trade up into the top 10. That's QB needy. But it almost feels like right now, everyone's kind of got this like, all right, well, what the hell are the Browns doing with Baker Mayfield? Like, do we really need to trade up to get a guy, or should we wait to see what happens with us? And, if we don't like what's available,
We'll
then
get him
maybe
for free.
it's exactly like it's a weird waiting game. Look at what happened. They tried to have that staring contest with OBJ and ended up having to cut him, right? So
Cleveland is the biggest garbage franchise in the NFL. Like they mishandle everything. When the smart thing would have been, you know what, we've got this thing lined up for Deshaun Watson, but let's not make it public, because now we can go out and make it known to teams that, oh yeah, by the way, let's trade Baker Mayfield for a second and a fourth round, or a conditional fourth that turns into a third, or whatever it may be. Like, you can make those types of trades and make it work. And then it's like, oh, well, now we've got a replacement coming in to do it. The relationship was never going to get fixed between Baker Mayfield and the Browns. But what did they do? They went out and made the trade for Deshaun Watson anyway, gave all their picks away for the next 3 years, and signed him to a gigantic contract. So now they've got like $60 million allocated to the quarterback position that's sitting on their roster currently. It's the stupidest thing in the world. So
it's the equivalent of going out into the wilderness with like 7 days worth of supplies, and the first ravine you get to, you just chuck it in and you're like, well, boys, we're at commit level now. Let's see what happens here.
Ravens just traded Marquise Brown to the Cardinals for the 23rd pick.
Jesus.
Oh, wow. That's surprising.
Well, there were some rumblings that he was not too happy with the Ravens there. And there was a weird rumor that actually got floated out, like at the beginning of the offseason, he was considering retiring, and then he had to come out and make like a public statement that he wasn't. And so it's not altogether shocking that they moved him. I thought it would have been one more year of, let's see what we can get out of him. He looked like, when he was on the field, finally one of their more reliable weapons that wasn't named Mark Andrews. So it looked like he was developing that rapport with Lamar, but
Baltimore is going to get someone falling to them again that they're just going to swoop in and take at 24 or 23.
Yeah, watch N'Kobe Dean's going to fall all the way down there.
No, it's either going to be Jermaine Johnson or N'Kobe Dean just falling into Baltimore's lap. Like, just fantastic.
Oh, here we go. Now we're really cooking here, Kyle. Jahan Dotson at number 16 to the Commanders. Our wide receivers bet is like almost cashed, and we're not even at pick 20 yet.
And as a Philadelphia fan, fantastic for you, because Jahan Dotson's a good player, but not really what Washington should have been focusing in on. Outside of the top 3 receivers, there's a pretty steep drop off. So,
and even if you were going to go wide receiver, like, we haven't talked about him that much, but Treylon Burks is still out there. Like, I don't understand why teams have soured on him the closer they've been getting to the draft. Whereas, like you said, Dotson has some of that. Again, I guess this is just the theme of the draft, that untapped potential of look what he could be one day, rather than, this is what he is, and if we get him in here into our system, he could get better. Like, people seem to think that it's polished product and that's all he's ever going to be, or so raw that once we get him in here, he'll be an all-pro wide receiver. Like, there seems to be no in between in the thought process this year.
No, I mean, he's slippery. I mean, he actually kind of plays a lot like Terry McLaurin. So the fact that they got him in there to pair with Terry, pretty good in the sense that it's going to cause a lot of matchup problems. Now, is Carson going to be able to get them the ball? That's the question. And as Eagle fans here, the struggles with Carson getting the ball to your weapons.
Listen, Eric was supposed to come on at some point tonight. He may later join us. But I literally laid out the blueprint of, like, step by step what to expect from the Carson Wentz experience with the Colts. He laughed, and it played out almost virtually identical. I even said, like, there is going to be some must-win game. It's either going to be the last week or the second last week of the season against a cupcake team, and he's going to blow it. No, we got this. Oh, well, there you go. Zion Johnson next off the board to the Chargers.
So
Philly's back up.
This one is actually something that I kind of figured. Zion Johnson is, Kyle, you and I have talked about this. He's the most versatile lineman in the draft. He can literally play any of
Billy-
the 5 positions.
Billy traded to pick the Titans.
We can't. The way this draft is going, we can't even get out like half of a take, and then it's just like trade pick is in. Like, what is going on here? My God. No wonder Mel Kiper has to talk so fast. There's so much going on that it's not at warp speed. Like,
Well,
so where are the Titans picking? Tennessee was at 26. Ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh.
well, let's see what you got back.
Even at 26, we might still get one of those 2 linebackers. We
Yeah.
might be able to get one of those 2
The
linebackers.
linebackers are going to fall. Honestly, like people aren't holding the linebackers in
High regard.
I just got a text from our cousin Andrew, who is a very, very big Titans fan. Literally says, I'm done. I can't cheer for this team anymore. So safe to say he is not a fan of the trade up. And
Eagles fans aren't a fan of the trade back. Titans fans aren't a fan of the trade up here.
yeah,
We need to crowdsource these drafts.
yeah,
See what direction we go in here.
yeah. Watching Zion Johnson's highlight tape is making me happy right now, though. He's such a good offensive lineman. Like, technique is so sound. And the one thing that I heard when he was at the Senior Bowl was that he never lost a one-on-one the whole week, which is impressive. Because you think about all the talent that's there, like never lost at any position. He was playing left tackle all the way over to right tackle.
Ah, Field Yates is reporting the Eagles got AJ Brown for the 18th and 101.
Really?
No.
Hold on. So I'm no longer concerned about trading back anymore here. Jameson Williams. What is going on here? My phone's lighting up like the 4th of July all of a sudden here. Wow.
AJ Brown. Wow. No wonder Andrew's done cheering for the Titans. We have a sad drink. We have a happy drink.
Yeah, I got to steady the nerves a little bit here. What is happening?
Take it away, fellas.
Yeah. Schefter is confirming it as well, too. AJ Brown for 18 and 101.
That's now Rieger can take his proper place in the practice roster.
No, we're getting Krispy Kreme donuts, remember?
Yeah, with one bite taken out of all of them.
Listen, Jalen Reagor is going to be a solid 5th round pick in the USFL next year, okay?
Yeah.
So
let him go play with Johnny Football there. They'll be a solid duo.
No, that's the fan control football league. I don't know. You guys probably can't see my phone. So John Robinson, if you're watching this live stream while you're in the Titans draft room, just know that every single Titans fan, according to my cousin Andrew, hates you and wants you to resign immediately.
There's a referendum on your employment status with the team right now, apparently.
Yeah.
This has all the hallmarks of Howie was so tired of hearing the DK Metcalf draft year things that he was like, all right, Seattle wouldn't bite on DK. Let's go out and get his buddy from Ole Miss there. And we'll just try and rewrite history and sweep JJ Arcega-Whiteside and Reagor under the rug.
Listen, JJ Arcega-Whiteside is going to be a solid number 4 tight end for you next year, okay?
Let me tell you, I cannot wait for him to join the ranks of Tim Tebow and Taysom Hill of the solid converted tight ends of the world ranks there, because good Lord.
How sad is that he's literally had less reps as an NFL player than Greg Ward had catches in his first full season as a receiver in the NFL as a
I don't know if
converted
you
quarterback.
ever had to sit through a drive where he was out there. He is unplayable. Like he might be getting absolutely torched if he went to the fan control football league here. Like it was an experience there. So the fact that we are ripping that chapter right out of the book of Eagles history here, and we're going to attempt to just gloss that over. Like who do the Titans like? Well, I guess the real question is, where did this trade come from? And is it the sense that
I
the
think
Titans like someone so much that they're making this deal to do it? Or was it that the relationship between Brown and the Titans was so fractured that they had to just recoup their costs?
Yeah, I think it was the relationship based. And I think, you mentioned the guy that you've had, a couple of times going to, a couple of teams. Treylon Burks, I think, kind of matches what AJ Brown brings, kind of that hybrid. Like, that's such a good trade.
Because what, 101, that's like early round 4.
Round 3, late round 3.
Well, there's 32 teams, 3
I
times
know, but there's
96.
but there's compensatory picks.
Yeah, okay. Technicality. Didn't say what is ahead of the answer there, Trebek. But no, I agree with you. If they're gonna go out and make that, they've got no in-house replacements. So
yeah,
I would have to assume it's Burks. And if that's the case, where's the draft results here? Did we cash then?
Look at John Robinson, just threw a big chomper in right after making that trade. He's stressed beyond the nines.
He's literally just thinking, this is my legacy.
All right, gotta calm the nerves. Throw a big thing of skull.
Okay, now we're only at 5. So if the Titans take another wide receiver, that'll be 6. So we need one more pick.
We
between 19 and 32.
We got 14 picks. We're good. Don't worry about it. We're good. The way that receivers are going, someone's going to take somebody late.
So with the 2 teams coming up next, after they announce this pick here, you got Saints and Steelers. It's got to be Malik. There you go. Treylon Burks is the pick. Saints and Steelers. You got to figure Malik Willis is going to one of the 2 of them. Am I alone in thinking this, or is Malik Willis still there come Patriots time at 21?
What I don't want to happen is for New Orleans to take Willis and then Pittsburgh's sitting there, because you know who they're going to take if Willis isn't there.
Kicker out of Arizona. San Diego State. What is it? Ariza?
San Diego State kicker. He's the best. But yeah,
well, all right, let's throw this out there. Someone who you loved, let's just say that our friend Willis is gone.
Yep.
What do you think, given the fact that you have been touting the woes of the offensive line, if they went out there and grabbed Tyler Linderbaum out of Iowa?
I would absolutely love that pick. Love it. I look at the comparisons that Kuiper's making. Like, Treylon Burks is already Deebo Samuel and AJ Brown. Like, give your head a shake.
First of all, I'm pretty sure Brown has about 30 pounds on him, but okay.
Well, Burks is a big dude. Like, he's a big dude, and he's very fast for his size. But like, you can't compare. Like, yeah, I'm so glad I'm not listening to this, and I'm listening to you 2 idiots ramble on about the woes of the Philadelphia fan.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. Not this guy. And that is how Howie Roseman has a good draft. He trades the picks away for proven players. Doesn't roll the dice on something. Just give me a proven product and AJ Brown, happy camper over here all of a sudden.
Yeah.
I'm still only giving him an A- in the draft, because now I really wish you would have taken Hamilton with that first pick. Now I know we got AJ Brown with the second.
The fact that you're giving them an A is surprising, because I think the closest you've ever come to that for a draft has been like a C+. Well,
that's what he deserved.
All right. So basically, Pittsburgh's next 15 years are going to be dependent on this New Orleans pick. So let's see how this goes.
I feel like you've downplayed the Willis thing as like, if he's there, that would be nice. But in your heart, I feel like you're really hoping that he's there. You're just trying to put on this facade that whatever, we're fine.
I don't want to put it out into the universe. I mean, if we're gonna take a quarterback in this draft, would I prefer it to be Malik Willis? Yes, absolutely.
Kenny
But
Pickett incoming.
if
If
that
they get
happens,
Pickett, I'm gonna laugh my ass off. If they take Pickett.
the thing is, though, I'm looking at some of the guys that are still on the board. Like, um, there's some good players still there. Like, and obviously, like, there's good players in the first round, but like, there's some really, really, really solid players. And one position that we actually do need is someone in the secondary, whether it be another safety or a corner. And actually,
Thinking McDuffie or Booth, or are you looking somewhere else? Then
one guy that I really, really like, and I wouldn't be upset. It would be early to take him in my mind, but if like they take a guy like Dax Hill, I'd be happy with that. I watched the guy
with the homer pick there.
But
right?
I watched him for 3 years at Michigan. Like, I know exactly what he brings to the table, and pairing him next to Minka Fitzpatrick would be an absolutely phenomenal pairing. He can play slot corner. You can have Edmonds on the field with the two of them as well. So, that being said, you've hit on some names that I really like too. Like, if they were to draft Tyler Linderbaum, I'm good. Like, he's the best center prospect to come out of the draft that I've ever seen. And
you've extolled his virtues on many a podcast.
Absolutely, I have. And my favorite player in the draft, who Nakobe Dean, even though we have linebacker depth, take him.
Well, I was even seeing some people project that he could fall out of the first round altogether, which I think is insane. But if it were to happen, like, someone's going to be trading up after round one wraps up and goes, who's still on the board? Who fell off? I kind of dozed off late at night. Kobe Dean's still there. Like, he's got to go within those first 5 picks of round 2 if he does somehow fall out of the first round.
Devin Lloyd and Kobe Dean should be nowhere near the second round. And the fact that they're actually creeping closer to the second round is going to make a really good team again, like New England. Very happy. Last year, they don't move up. They just stay where they are, and they get the best rookie quarterback in the class last year, statistic-wise, in Mac Jones. This year, it's lining up where they're probably going to end up with one of the 2 best linebackers in the draft. It's going to solidify their defense. Like, this is what the good teams do. They wait. They let other teams make moves, trade up, waste all their picks on somebody that probably only one other team wanted. And then they just say, you know what? We're good. We'll just sit back, let the draft come to us. And this is why teams like Baltimore draft well every year, because they let the board come to them. This is why New England drafts well every year. They let the board come to them. And let's be honest, New England's taking a guy from Rutgers. It happens every year. Like, they're taking a Rutgers guy. We know that. All right, let's see what the Saints are doing.
Well, New England lets it come to them because Bill Belichick's drafting from like his cottage. So his dial-up AOL CD that he uses to connect to the internet there, like, doesn't have the capabilities to wheel and deal on draft day.
Yeah.
Oh, your boy is available.
Yeah.
Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa to the Saints.
Big old boy.
That makes sense. So I'm not a fan of Trevor Penning, to be perfectly honest. His footwork is very, very poor when it comes to pass protection. But the one thing that he has going for him is, we talk about Ike Ekwonu being a violent guy. Penning's a violent guy. Apparently he was like picking fights with guys at the Senior Bowl all week, which, Ryan will, both of you guys will like this reference. He kind of reminds me a lot of John Runyon. I mean,
I thought you were going to say Nelson from The Simpsons, just taking everyone's money and beating up Millhouse.
Yeah, Runyon was one of those angry farm boys too. So yeah, that makes sense.
Grow a little hair on the triceps a little bit, solidify that nasty offensive lineman look, and you're good to go.
He's got to break his nose a few times too.
Yeah, that too. Yeah. That too. But yeah, when you watch the film on him, I mean, in run protection, he's an absolute savage. But, as a pass protector, I'm still not sold on him.
Well, you're doing a lot of deflecting right now. I feel like you're just talking to keep your mind occupied, because the Steelers are on the clock here. This could be, this is Tomlin's boy right here. He has not hidden his full-on man crush of Malik Willis whatsoever.
But this could make our night from a couple of different perspectives, because one, the quarterback that, if we're going to take one in this draft, it's the guy that I would want. And two, we have a bet that he's the first quarterback off the board, and not one has gone off the board yet. So we're creeping ever closer to that wide receiver mark. We're creeping ever closer to the quarterback mark, but it just needs to happen. I mean, let's see what happens here. I think
you can put it out into the universe now. The pick is yours. No one can hop in front of you. No one can steal it there. You can say it here. Gun to your head right now. If you could have Malik Willis or anyone else on the board, who are you taking?
Obviously, I think I want to take Malik Willis.
There it is. He's finally said it. It's taken. We're on what, hour 2 of the live cast tonight.
Listen,
we've finally gotten it from.
I had to listen to you two idiots bite your nails and to take a shot of whiskey and all that kind of crap for the Philadelphia picks and trades. You can put up with my humming and hawing over who I want as my guy for Pittsburgh.
You're gonna get the Bo Callahan lookalike Pickett. I'm telling you right now. Here it comes.
Oh,
I mean,
not only do they ruin the bet, but
yeah,
he gets the guy.
And that's the thing. Either. If it happens like that, it's just gonna piss everyone off, and I'd rather that not happen. So, Kevin Colbert, Mike Tomlin, if you're listening to this live stream, as we know you are, do the right thing. Do us all a favor. Take the quarterback that you want, which is Malik Willis, and help us hit our parlay, because that makes everyone happy.
Well, not me.
I take no joy in this.
Yeah, whatever. You got a 6'7", 340-pound nose tackle for the next 12 years, and you got your number one receiver in house.
Yeah, that's why it'd be great if you got a crap pick. That way you could feel my pain for a little while there.
The thing with Pittsburgh is, like, they don't really make garbage picks. Like, even if they draft a guy who's not exactly who they should draft, it's never like, oh, well, this guy's never going to play for us. Like, that's only happened once, and that's Jarvis Jones. But Jarvis Jones also had a spinal issue, and his medical records checked out clean. They just reared their ugly head when he came to the NFL. So, like, you can't really fault that happening. It's just taking the chance of maybe it'll come up, maybe it won't. So, it is what it is. I've been fairly happy with Pittsburgh's selections, and we won't talk about the Lamar Jackson draft because we don't do that. It's like in Canto, we just don't talk about Bruno. That's my Bruno. We don't talk about it.
Well, let me float this theory out here while it's on commercial break.
That's for all the parents listening.
Your cerebellum for a little bit here. Someone in the state of Pennsylvania. It's kind of like How I Met Your Mother. Someone's the blitz. They always miss out on things or screw up there. If it's not Howie Roseman,
yeah,
and it's got to be someone, that only leaves one option here.
It's going to balance out the universe by having one of the Pennsylvania GMs mess up the pick, eh?
Yeah, got to balance out those scales. So here you go. Pick is in. On a scale of 1 to 10, what are the nerves right now?
Well, I'm on a delay, so I don't know. Like, I'm still watching a commercial for Gaslit with Julia Roberts.
All right, so here's what we'll do, Ryan. We will just stone face this pick,
right,
and we'll watch Kyle experience it in live time here.
It
It'll
could be
like The
difficult.
Simpsons. We can either pinpoint the exact moment his heart breaks, or
we got to screenshot that. You get your screenshot ready.
Yeah. Selfie. Yeah. Okay, we're back now. Courtyard by Marriott. Here we go. I'm not even looking at you two.
I'm only looking at you.
I know.
For all our viewers, this is officially the part of the draft where things are getting weird here. We've been talking for 2.5 hours almost, and analysis is out the window. We're into body language viewing right now. So
for anyone watching this and watching my body language, I'm not giving them the satisfaction of reacting, whether it's good or bad. So anyways, let's see where things go here, because I'm very interested to see what the future looks after the Kevin Colbert area. Is he going to leave the program in good hands with a quarterback that everyone thinks they should take, or is he going to throw a wild card in there? Let's see. Interesting.
Or he misses.
Is it the quarterback that everybody thinks, or just you though?
I mean, there's a couple of quarterbacks that people have been linking to the Steelers. So I really wish I wasn't on delay right now. Franco does have good luck when he's making the picks, though. I will say that.
Jeremiah Masoli.
Great. We drafted a 34-year-old rookie.
Yeah, there you go. Has anyone informed the Red Blacks that they no longer have a quarterback?
He's entered into the NFL draft secretly.
Yeah. Well, you're not missing a whole lot right now. All it is a very lengthy speech being given.
Oh yeah, that's Franco. He's a chatty fella. But like I said, he's been actually really good. Every time they brought him out to make a pick, they've hit on their first round pick. So let's just hope that luck continues. Don't even, I know who it is now with you laughing.
How delayed are you? Like, the pick has happened for like 2 minutes here. I can't keep this in for too much longer.
What the hell? I'm sitting there looking down at the screen. I'm like,
are you on pick 18 right now? Like, where are you in your screen?
No, the pick just happened.
Oh my God. They ruined the bet. Ruined the bet.
Shit does flow downriver in Pennsylvania.
The Blitz is now in the Steelers building.
I mean,
we're taking Bo Callahan.
Oh man. Sunshine.
So he was number 5 on my quarterback list.
Not only this, but this also screws up our under 2.5 quarterbacks in the first round, because Willis is going somewhere.
Yeah.
So now does someone sneak in there and grab a Matt Corral or a Howell or something towards the end of the first for that extra 50-year option? But
yeah.
Well,
I mean, hey, at the end of the day, the last time Pittsburgh passed on a Pittsburgh quarterback in college, it was Dan Marino. So let's hope.
Yeah,
let's hope.
Go.
Look, I'm trying to put positive vibes into the air right now. Okay.
I'm going to put positive vibes out there by saying Kenny Pickett is the next Dan Marino. You heard it here first, folks.
A guy who puts up stats but never wins a Super Bowl. Well, here's the infamous fake slide. There we go. So now that we're on the topic here,
we got a trade. Shocker. The Chiefs hop up and the good old Patriots trade back to the surprise of no one.
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, silver lining, they didn't trade up to get a quarterback, because I think that would have been worst case scenario. But I'm more angry that the parlay is screwed up, to be honest. we were riding high with the receiver run. Everything was going well. Now we're in a position where that's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. But I don't know. I mean, I don't want to cast judgment on a quarterback, because I think it's going to be one of those things where they're brought along slower than normal. But who knows? I mean, they obviously see something, and like, he was in the building every day, right? Like, that's where the University of Pittsburgh plays. So I'll reserve my judgment until year 2 or 3, once we see the Kenny Pickett experience. But watching the highlights of the ACC Championship versus Wake Forest, I want to just highlight a Canadian prospect that is shooting up draft boards, who actually just attended the University of Wake Forest, and Luigi Villain, and an Ottawa boy, from the east end of Ottawa, was second in the ACC in sacks this season behind Jermaine Johnson, and put up just an absolutely fantastic year. He's a great kid. We've had a chance to interview him on the podcast. He's just such a down-to-earth guy, and I really think that he's gonna do some things in the league. But listen to this, okay? So he put on a show at his pro day. So he measured in at 6'4", 255 pounds. He ran a 4.7 40. His 10-yard split was 1.57, which for anyone who doesn't understand how impressive that is, only one other person has run that in the last 10 years, and his name is Nick Bosa. So
little known player.
Little known player. But not
I
only
think I've
that,
heard of him. Yeah.
yeah, he put up 21 reps on the bench, hit a 35-inch vertical, a 10-inch broad jump, and a 3-cone drill of 7.01, which normal speed for prospects that size is usually in the 7.5 range. So this guy would have tested in the top 2 or 3 at the position at the combine had he been invited. Like, he just put on an absolute show. He had a great season this year. And, the cool part was, like, I actually was able to chat with him a little bit, before we were jumping on. So we talked with him earlier this week, and, just kind of asked him about, the situation leading up to the draft and everything. And I mean, he really just, laid everything out. He was going to come on tonight, but he had obviously bigger fish to fry with the draft going on. Not to say that we're not providing entertainment and making sure that everyone's having a good time listening, but I asked him a couple of questions. So he's in Ottawa, actually. He's watching the draft in Ottawa, along with another prospect who's from Ottawa, who's also going to be going fairly early, Jesse Luketa from Penn State. So the Chiefs pick is in. So I'll continue the story after the Chiefs pick.
So Trent
Chiefs
McDuffie
pick was in 2 minutes ago.
Trent McDuffie, and the Chiefs ended up trading 29, 94, and 121 to get pick number 21. So Bill Belichick with his 83rd draft day trade with the Patriots there.
Which is very Jimmy Johnson-esque.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But anyways, like, a couple of interesting things. Like, I always like when I talk to these prospects, like, who do you like to watch on film other than yourself when you're breaking down like how you want to play? And like this guy, he doesn't just like to break down guys who he knows he's better than. He always wants to emulate the best. And I mean, he used to, he went to the University of Michigan to start, transferred to Wake Forest. He played with Kwity Paye and Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo. He was in a room with those guys at all times. Like, he's watching and breaking down these guys all the time. And when I think about it, I had a chat with him. The one guy he really wants to, emulate his game after is Von Miller. And I mean, I look at the size that he possesses. Like, he's already bigger than Von Miller, coming into the league already. He's got that quick first step like Von Miller does. And like, his handwork just provides him with that opportunity to be just that. So, I think, a guy like Luigi, wasn't even on Pro Football Focus's 7-round prospect list when it initially came out. And I think this is a guy who's going to be creeping into, late round 2, maybe round 3, when it's all said and done. So all the best to Luigi over the course of the weekend. He's worked hard, and he's going to earn everything that he gets this week. But let's hope that he ends up in a good spot where he can go get after that quarterback.
And as long as he doesn't go to a Cowboy, Commander, or Giants jersey, I am more than happy to support a good Ottawa boy there. So best of luck to Luigi. And I mean, it's kind of a trend that we're seeing as well, too. And then, not to get too far away from football, but I mean, you look at basketball, football, all of the major sports are starting to finally see, it not be such a rarity of like, oh, one Canadian got taken in the NFL draft last year there. Let's give him the Lou Marsh Award. Like, we're starting to really actually see a pretty decent pipeline of players go down there. And, you named one already, and we had a chance to send out some questionnaires to a couple other ones that we'll get to as the later rounds drag on there. But it's refreshing to see that some of these guys up north are starting to get the looks that they deserve. And it's certainly not for lack of talent that there hasn't been that many Canadian draft picks in the NFL. It's just lack of exposure. And slowly we're starting to see that start getting turned around on its head a little bit there.
Well, I mean, just looking at this, like, there's 9 Canadians in the draft this year, which is unheard of. And 5 of which are actually from Ottawa.
Mhm.
Like that's the crazy part to me. And when we look at the guys who are listed, I mean, you look at John Mechie, who is the receiver out of Alabama, unfortunately suffered the ACL injury last year, but his teammate Jameson Williams obviously went number 12 to Detroit. You might see Mechie be one of those second round guys who can come in and be, a very good impact receiver in his first year, because he's such a good route runner. And he was actually leading the team in yards before he got hurt. Right. So you look at the guy who went number 12 overall in the draft, like this is a guy who actually had better stats than him going in. So yeah, I mean, the future of Canadian football is bright, and you're seeing a lot of the top talent from from the country go down and play and make an impact on the NCAA level, and now they're moving into the NFL. I mean, you look at a guy like Neville Gallimore, who went a couple of years ago to Dallas. Okay, sorry, Green Bay is. You guys might as well say who they picked, because I'm still on a delay.
Quay Walker.
I didn't expect that to be that early.
Quay Walker. Well, Kyle, you and I talked about this, and we had him going in the first round a while ago. And I think the more people got to see his film, they understand how impressive that guy is. So he is one of probably the most unsung heroes of that Georgia vaunted defense, because he played outside linebacker. Nakobe Dean was kind of the director back there, moving everybody to and fro. But Quay Walker was a guy who made plays all the time. And I mean, looking at his film here, like he's one of the best sideline to sideline guys. He can play in a 3-4. He can play in a 4-3. He's just a good football player overall.
Well, Georgia's a defensive factory. They just pump out defensive players from Georgia.
Yeah, not bad at all. And look at Baltimore trading their pick again.
Yeah, Buffalo on the clock here, so be interesting to see which direction they go. I thought Buffalo might have even been a candidate that might look at trading back and being one of those teams that takes a run at like a Breece Hall or something like that, and finally gets like a clear number one running back in that backfield. But
yeah,
they're clearly moving up because they've got someone, that they've got their eye on, and
it's got to be a corner. If they're trading up, it's got to be Booth or.
I was gonna say Booth was, which I'm a little bit shocked that Booth went behind McDuffie, but again, there's clearly people liked what they saw out of the film, and I personally would have gone with Booth myself, but
I think. Yeah, I think the McDuffie and Booth thing is actually the opposite of what we saw earlier with the Walker and Hutchinson pick, because McDuffie's the more fundamentally sound player of the two. Mm-hmm. Booth possesses the upside that I think every team's looking for in a corner who can be a shutdown guy, 24/7. So, that's ultimately the differences between front offices when you look at it. Some people value upside, some people value what's ready for us right now. Obviously, you look at that move up, that's what they were ready for. Like McDuffie was the guy that they thought was going to be ready out of the gate. So I mean, who knows? I think putting in a guy like Booth, who can now kind of learn from Tre'Davious White, and obviously Sean McDermott's a fantastic football coach, that could be a good environment for him to kind of come in, settle into the role. But who knows? Like, I want to say the last 10 picks have thrown this draft on its ear. A lot of, we never thought that would happen type of situation. So yeah, I'm interested. The first 10 were kind of, like we were mentioning, kind of went according to plan. There wasn't any curveballs in there. And then 11 came up, and then the trades just started to throw everything out of whack. So it's been an interesting last 13 picks or so.
Yeah. Well, you got to figure too. I mean, what's the last football game that the Buffalo Bills played? Getting their hearts ripped out that they had to invent a new rule for overtime because they couldn't stop them with 0 time left on the clock from getting down there and tying up the game. So if ever there's a time to trade up, it's got to be for secondary help here, right? Like you said, go out there and get a Booth, and maybe even a linebacker. Maybe they see Quay Walker go and go, oh crap, if we thought Nakobe Dean was going to fall to us, or a Devin Lloyd, maybe we move up and get him. But I agree. I think corner or safety, something in that secondary to prevent all those AFC quarterbacks that are out there from picking apart their secondary and moving up the field in, 5 seconds flat.
Yeah.
Probably looming large on that front office's mind at the moment.
Yeah. I know what's weighing large on this front office's mind. See what I did there? We're getting to that point of the night, everybody, where the dad jokes are going to start coming out. We're getting a little bit tired. Kyle's just shoving his face full of snacks the whole time. It's good. It's good. Yeah. Ryan's got a hole in the roof. Fantastic.
Well, I was going to say,
I was doing inclines in the sprints on my treadmill, and the roof's not high enough, so I got to take the hanging ceiling tile off to get there.
You're just got a bird's eye view of your plumbing and all that going through there. Then there you go. Oh man,
couple dust bunnies, couple cords hanging on my face. It's good workout.
There you go.
A real inspiring run. Some people have like those VR systems where it looks like they're running along a mountainside. You're looking at cobwebs and cigarette butts.
Meanwhile, Kyle and I are shoving our face full of Smoke Shack all night, and just
you at least got the full Smoke Shack experience there as part of this finagle delivery that we set up tonight. Much of my Smoke Shack was commandeered by my lovely wife, who, again, love her to death, but the pulled pork disappeared pretty quickly around here. Let's just say that its whereabouts are currently unknown.
The pulled pork from the Smoke Shack definitely disappears very quickly in anybody's house whenever they bring it home for dinner. But, hey, that's what happens when they make good food. Food goes fast.
There you go. Bills get the 23rd overall. Ravens get the 25th and pick up a 4th round draft pick. So
not bad, two picks and, getting a 4th out of there. That's actually a solid move. Like, again, I hate Baltimore so much.
They only dropped 2 spots, so if they were looking at one of those linebackers, one of them's going to drop to them. So,
but even that, like, Jermaine Johnson's still on the board, Daxton Hill's still on the board. Like, they have their pick of who's the best player available. It just frustrates me.
It's frustrating. It's frustrating.
So I think that you're probably one of the only other people who actually would expect me to know what that reference is from.
Yeah. It's a bubble, it explodes.
And here come the obscure movie references for
we're approaching hour 3 here, people. Like at a certain point. There you go. KR Elam out of Florida. So there's that secondary help. And again, there's someone who a lot of upside.
Yeah.
The intangibles are there, but far from a polished product. So be interesting to see how they deploy him, at least in the early part of the season, because he is not a day one starter in my mind there. He's someone who, you can probably have shadow white for a little bit there and get out when there's 3 wide sets or something like that. But he had his fair share of oopsie moments in the SEC. And if ever there's a conference that emulates the NFL, it's the SEC.
Yeah. I think that every cornerback prospect outside of the top 2 had flaws. And even the top 2 have flaws. I mean, they're not much, but they have them. But when you look at Elam, like, the guy's got the size you want to be, a cornerback who's going to lock down a number 1 receiver. Like, he's 6'2", almost 200 pounds. Like, and you're watching highlights of him here. Like, he's not afraid to mix it up. Like, he's good off the line of scrimmage, jamming receivers. He can tackle. He's got what you want, like you were saying. It's just, can he put it all together as a complete prospect? Because if he does, that's a home run pick for Buffalo, especially because they're a good team who doesn't have a lot of gaps other than running back and corner. And if they can somehow come out of this draft with picking one of those running backs, if they fall to them in round 2, look out for Buffalo next year, everybody, because they're going to be absolutely stacked.
Yeah, those were definitely their 2 biggest needs. And, some people have said that their need at running back has kind of been overblown, but Neither one of them, whether it was Moss or Singletary last year at any point, and they got more than enough runs to try out and take that job and, run away with it there. And every time one of them got thrust into that more less 50-50 split, more I'm the guy, they fell flat on their face. It was either fumble issues or they were averaging like 1.4 yards per carry. So yeah, it's nice to have depth there, but they don't have the guy out there at running back yet. So I agree. And if it's there in the second round, more power to him. Go out there and get one of those top flight guys there. Either Brees Hall or that guy from Michigan.
Touchdown,
as we will only refer to him as from now on.
Touchdown Walker, because again, you heard it so many times in that game. That's what you figured his name was going to be. But let's be honest, Josh Allen's the running back one in Buffalo. They have so many QB design runs there. He's not afraid to mix it up. He'll lower the shoulder when he needs to. And if it's inside the 5-yard line, who's getting the rushing touchdown. Like Singletary's there as a nice little side piece. And Moss obviously fell out of favor as they healthy scratched him, I think 75% of the games last year. So, Buffalo, if they can figure it out where they can get a guy who's trustworthy, and maybe that is Singletary, they're good to go.
Like, what is going on here? We've got people with hula hoops on stage right now, and like
it's Dallas, baby.
It is the Cowboys pick. So who the hell knows what Jerry Jones is doing up there?
It's Dallas, baby. So,
but I think the Bills. But I do think the Bills need to get some kind of run game going because, Josh Allen is their running back. But how long do you plan on keeping your quarterback? Because if he plays like that, he's not going to stay healthy for very long.
Yeah,
he's have a short career.
Yeah. No, it's.
Oh. No, it's just, okay. That's not really a pick.
I was gonna say Cowboys lost Randy Gregory. Do they go out and take Johnson here? Like, is this the classic Jerry can't help himself from a big name guy who was getting a lot of headlines earlier on?
I mean, it would fill a need. Like Jerry has to, that has to be the setup every year, right? Like Jerry has to sit in the middle.
What the hell is
underneath the star?
He was dressed by Cam Newton ahead of time.
Like, what the hell was that?
It's still not nearly as hilarious as Garrett Wilson's relative Lou Bega.
Oh, you probably haven't seen the hat yet because you're like 70 minutes behind us. But
no, I'm definitely not at the hat yet, so I don't know what's happening with my feed. But I'm watching it
for the Mad Hatter's Tea Party theme.
Oh, there we go.
Oh.
Yeah, that's definitely a Pharrell Williams inspired look. All right, I'm gonna gauge your reaction as to who Dallas picks here, because I know both of you. This is the other pick other than Philadelphia's who you absolutely ride or die on.
This is the only pick I care about in the first round now, because Philly doesn't have anything till 51 now, so this is the last pick I care about.
Yeah.
The comments section right now really enjoyed the comment of side piece Singletary, so I think that's it's going to be a few fantasy football team names.
You're welcome, everybody. You're welcome, everybody.
Well, what do we think here? Jerry Jones can't help himself, goes with a brand name, or are they going to go with a relatively quiet pick, offensive line or something like that?
I mean, I think it's Johnson. Outside chance it's Linderbaum. We'll see.
Well, they got to do something to help Dax because they just paid that guy a small fortune to be there, so give him something.
Yeah. Dak and Zeke say you're welcome to the rest of the Dallas Cowboy roster when you can't get paid.
All right, here we go.
Nobody hates the Dallas Cowboys salary cap like the Dallas Cowboys.
Tyler Smith out of Tulsa.
Tulsa. Well, again, local or local-ish from Oklahoma.
Attaboy, Jerry.
That's a good pick. He's one of the
Don't
top.
you defend them. Don't you? I see what you don't start that narrative right now. This
So-
this is the crap on Jerry Jones hour for that pick.
Look, I actually had mocked Tyler Smith to Dallas in my last mock draft that I put together because I had more offensive linemen going before this point. But he's a big dude, and I think that this is kind of signaling the end of the Tyron Smith era there. But again, T. Smith has been very, very productive as a left tackle for Dallas for a long time. They're looking to continue on that tradition, obviously.
Well, there are some drafts that I come out of it genuinely scared of some of the weapons that the Dallas Cowboys picked up. This isn't one of them. So, I'm sleeping well tonight. We picked up A.J. Brown, the Cowboys, meh. The Commanders, meh. Giants, they can piss off.
The
They made out pretty
Giants
well.
came off big, but they sucked to begin with, so we don't have to worry about them.
Yeah. I think out of everybody right now, I think, the Giants are definitely winning the draft, but Philly's a very, very close second. And, you don't get guys like A.J. Brown who grow on trees, right? So if you can go out and, utilize your first round pick on a guy like that, I think anybody would make that move for sure.
Well, and you know how I feel about wide receivers, but at least this way, we know that A.J. Brown's a proven performer. So I'm not angry about that. Like, I just didn't want Roseman to take another flyer on somebody and then, here we go.
Plus, he's angry. He's angry. Did you see on NFL Network they had Jason Kelce on for an interview when the Philadelphia traded for A.J. Brown?
Yeah.
They literally did it, and the hosts are reacting to it as it comes up, and they're breaking it to him live that they just traded for A.J. Brown, and Kelce literally runs off the screen, and he comes back, and he's shirtless.
Jason Kelce must be one of my favorite human beings out there.
He's awesome. The Kelce brothers are just some of the best things about professional sports. They're just such great personalities. And even their mom, I don't know if you guys saw that thing last year where she went to both of their playoff games and she was documenting the whole trip.
Yeah.
And then at the end of it, she's like, I hate my kids that they made me travel this much in one day.
Yeah. Yeah. Jason's kind of salt of the earth guy. Travis is a little bit out there. Did you ever see his what? I don't even know what
Not
it was.
a
But it was
chance.
essentially
I know what
one
you're
of those
talking about. Not a
dating
chance I
shows
watched.
there where he
Yeah.
did it there.
No,
Oh, man.
not a chance that I was going to watch that garbage.
Oh,
All the power.
I figured you would have tuned in for
All the power.
some note taking there. Okay, is he going to be distracted this fancy football season? Or you got a little side piece Singletary action.
Side piece Singletary. That is literally going to be the hashtag that comes out of this live stream is side piece Singletary. And yeah, I definitely have a new fan.
You just got your second shirt that you got to make up. You got Kevin's Ghoulies, and then
Exactly.
you got side piece Singletary.
Well, then we got Jet's Cucumber because I don't know if you saw that, Ryan, but Jet logged on earlier to chat, and he just is unwrapping a cucumber as we're talking. Like, the F are you doing, man? He's making lunch for his kids while he's chiming into the show.
I was gonna say maybe he had too many edibles and he thought a cucumber was something.
I told him
it's talking to me, man.
Yeah, I told him that we can't edit. I told him that we can't edit it because it's live, so not to do the edibles until after he was done.
But did he listen? No.
Yeah. Well, the thing is that the first thing he brings up is how he fell asleep last week when we were doing our show.
Really sold your product there for you.
that was my own fault for actually having an episode on 420, knowing that he was going to be on the show. So my own fault for that.
Oh, well, Ravens back on the clock here.
Yeah, they're going to trade down. They're going to trade down, and they'll
think another trade. They're just going to keep accumulating all these late.
Why
round
not?
draft picks,
Because at this point, the draft boards fall to them again. So
these guys signing sandwiches. What the hell are they doing?
They are signing Subway sandwiches. So
I will say though, Lamar sent out a tweet when they traded Hollywood Brown, and he's none too happy.
Oh.
So maybe not going well in the contract negotiations after that one.
Yeah. Well, isn't he his own agent as well too? So
He sure is.
they pissed off both the agent and the player in one fell swoop there.
And you know what? I gotta commend him for taking on that response. Like, that's a lot of work to be an agent, especially if you're the one who's going to be playing. That's a big burden to have, because there's a lot of stuff behind the scenes that you really have to take care of as an agent. So if you're doing that all yourself, plus playing on the field, that's a big undertaking. But you know what? You also keep all the money that you get coming in. So
I want my 10%.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, agents make anywhere between 1% and I think 4% now. But yeah, I mean, even then, like, you're looking at some of the contracts these guys are signing, 1% of that, like, you have 4 or 5 clients. That's pretty good living. It's pretty good living.
All you gotta do is represent one quarterback with the way they're paying quarterbacks now, and you're a millionaire.
Absolutely.
Well, the pick is in, so they are making a selection here. They didn't trade back.
Finally, they're making a pick.
Well, in your case, in another 4 to 5 minutes, they'll make the pick there.
Yeah. Joe Munn. Yeah. Good. You guys are like Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport, just ruining the selection for me.
Yeah. It was like that one year at the NBA draft where Waj was tweeting out all the picks like 2 minutes before they happened. And then the next year, the NBA banned him from showing up live.
Well, it's the same thing that happened in the NFL draft. Like, they ruined every single pick that would come in. And why are we watching this when we're getting the picks tweeted to us?
Yeah.
Like, why are we watching it?
You're watching it to see our ugly mugs on YouTube giving commentary.
Exactly. And aren't you glad that you're listening to this? All 3 of you that are tuned in.
Yeah.
It's such a better experience listening to, idiocy and, unbiased. And is it unbiased?
Unbiased.
Well, first of all, there was a lot of bias going on when that Dallas pick was announced.
By this point, I hope that you would detect the sarcasm coming out of my mouth. But
Linderbaum.
They got Linderbaum. Oh,
yep.
No.
Unbiased.
Completely unbiased.
Listen, everybody, completely unbiased, except if a team that I hate takes a player that I love. And again, Baltimore does it every single time. Every time there's a player that I'm like, this guy's fantastic. I love his film. I really hope that he ends up on a team that I like. No, Baltimore's just going to, trade down 4 times, get him, late in the second or late in the first round. But this guy's film, like, just watch this guy's film when it comes up. It is the most impressive tape that you're ever going to watch. Him and Nakobe Dean, they put on clinics during games. It's really something special to watch.
Well, I'm exceptionally impressed by the size of his jaw. It looks like he could fit a literal pumpkin inside of that thing. He is a well-fed young man there. That's a lot of cornmeal going into that system right there. But
yeah.
Again, like you said, we talked about him on some earlier podcasts, and he's a road paver for sure. He is going to open up holes in front of him. And, we were talking just a few minutes ago about Jason Kelce. Like, he reminds me of a young Jason Kelce, kind of undersized, like he's listed at 6'2", but he's not this towering, 6'5", 6'6" lineman or anything like that, but just shorter arms, kind of same build as Jason Kelce, just needs the beard. And then he will officially be the mini-me clone of him out there.
The thing that differentiates him from Kelce, though, is that he's meaner than Jason is. Like, he's so physical. Like, the highlights you're watching right now, like, he's putting people on their back.
Well, right now he's wrestling Tristan Wirfs at the Iowa Wrestling Championships.
And throwing him around. Like, that's the scary part, is that he's 2 years younger than Tristan Wirfs is. And he's throwing him around.
Well, we're going to see
that could be my favorite highlight right there. It makes a great block, but no one else on the offensive line picked up anyone. This quarterback just got obliterated.
Yeah.
depending on what happens right now, Titans fans may be really pissed off at their team. Let's see what the Jets. Let's see what they actually got from the Jets for that pick.
Boy.
You think they double down and double dip on receiver by trading down? I think that's the only way that you appease Titans fans at this point.
Well, I don't think there is any appeasing the fans now.
No, it wasn't the live tweet that we hate you and you need to resign from your buddy there. And it was signed by allegedly the entire fan base.
Yeah. Yeah. He was speaking on behalf of the entire fan base.
Unbiased reporting.
Unbiased reporting, live and often.
Yeah.
I got a massive text message. It was speaking of how the Eagles sexually violated the Texans at some point. I'm not going to go into detail what he said, but that's basically the gist of it with that trade.
It's the Titans, Ryan. The Titans.
That's what I meant.
Yeah, them too.
You had 4 teams from that division to pick from. You had a 25 or 75% chance of being right, and you were wrong.
Incorrect.
I can be wrong every now and then.
Yeah.
Well, Jets pick is in right now. So they've already gone out there and obviously taken Sauce Gardner at number 4. Then they went and got Garrett Wilson at number 10. So they've got corner and wide receiver. What's their next biggest need here? Are they going secondary? Is this like a Booth pick to pair across from Sauce Gardner?
I mean, that would be a bold take to start 2 rookie corners.
Wow. I was going to say, I think if there's one thing we learned, other than that one Cincinnati week that blew up God knows how many survivor pools,
yeah,
the Jets had a tendency to get burned deep in the secondary.
Yeah.
So
this could be a spot for one of the linebackers.
This has got to be Johnson then, if it's not going to be a secondary pick.
It could be Johnson, but I've thought of Johnson for like 7 picks now, and he keeps falling. So
in my original draft, this is the area I had Johnson going. So when all of a sudden Kuiper and all these guys had him going in top 10, I was like, I don't know what the hell's going on. So this is kind of the range I had him pegged at, but. Again,
it was right after the Senior Bowl happened was when Johnson's stock just started to skyrocket because he put on a clinic at the Senior Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we talked about this.
Jermaine Johnson.
Yeah.
To the Jets.
Whenever you have a team, like, and you see this all the time, whenever teams have 2 first-round picks in an early second round, if a guy drops, they're going to trade back into the first round to get him, because at that point it's just playing with house money. And it's like, we talked about getting that extra 5th-year option. This is exactly the type of guy that you want to have for a 5th year, so that way you can see his development all the way through. But
I didn't know you can get a female suit in that size.
It's a very interesting wardrobe choice here by Jermaine Johnson.
That's his mom's suit. 100% his mom's suit.
It's from the Hillary Clinton collection. But I mean, if you're a Jets fan, this is a win for New York just in general, right? You got the Giants go out there and get Thibodeau and Neal, and the Jets go out there and get Johnson, Gardner, and Wilson. Yeah,
have a night, New York. Like, have an absolute night. It's been good. It's been good for the New York franchises. This is a rarity. Like, why couldn't this be in a draft that happened in New York? Like, every time the draft was at Radio City Music Hall, you always had, what are the Jets doing? And you had boos raining down from on high. The Giants are reaching for players. Now you've actually got, a draft that both of these franchises are just knocking out of the park, and it's nowhere to be found in New York. It's across the country.
Well, buckle up, because here come the Jacksonville Jaguars coming back in at number 27 now.
There we go.
And currently on the clock as well too. And I mean, Jacksonville, anything other than quarterback is kind of in play right now. So, I mean, this is where it's getting a little bit surprising almost that teams are still wanting to trade back into the first round, depending on what they're giving up, obviously. But
Yeah.
Because there's still some first round players, but there aren't a ton that you'd really want to package a huge deal together to go out and get. Like right now,
yeah,
if you look at the Jags, they did go out and lose Miles Jack. So is this now the spot where Lloyd or Dean are going?
You know, they went Georgia with their number 1 pick. They want to bring in a winning mentality. They could double dip into the Georgia pool and bring in, you know, 2 of the best players from that defense. So wouldn't be surprised if Dean is the pick here. But a guy to keep an eye on is also from Georgia. And, you know, I've made mention of him many times before as, you know, being one of my top players in the draft, but obviously off the field stuff has forced him to fall. Devontae Wyatt, you know, the defensive tackle from Georgia. You know, I think if the off the field stuff didn't start to creep up right before, like the 2 weeks before leading up to the draft, you're probably looking at him being a top 12 pick. And the fact that, you know, again, these things come to light, it's terrible, obviously. Like, you know, it's something that you never want to see, especially when it comes to anything domestic related. So, you know, if everything checks out and he, you know, he has all that behind him, and, you know, he's paid the consequences for those actions, then hey, you know, onward and upward, and, you know, let his future, you know, be indicative of making that pick and not his past.
Yeah. Well, for those that have been with us this whole time here, we're really kind of banking on Green Bay taking a wide receiver next. Otherwise, we're sitting at 6 right now, so we're hedging that bet. So we really want Green Bay to make sure they go out and take a wide receiver, especially after they kind of made a questionable reach for their Quay Walker at 22. But hey, I mean, this is where, again, a lot of names that you've kind of heard come up there were those late rounder guys that, you know, the Sky Moores, the Christian Watsons, even like a George Pickens out of Georgia. So there's still some names up there. Whether they go out and do that or they piss off Aaron Rodgers yet again at the NFL draft with their first round draft choices, who knows? So we'll see what Jacksonville does here first.
Well, you know what? They already traded away Aaron Rodgers' best and favorite weapon in his whole career. So why not just, you know, dig the...
But let's put a timeout on that narrative right now. You know who traded away Devontae Adams? Was Aaron Rodgers. Like, at a certain point, you're either chasing championships or you're padding your bank account. And I think everything that we saw out of Aaron Rodgers in the last 365 days points towards a me, look at me first attitude. Yeah. And someone's going to write a tell-all memoir of the Aaron Rodgers experience in Green Bay one day, and it's going to be a bloodbath. I can guarantee you. And Aaron Rodgers could have very easily done the Tom Brady, restructured things, freed up some money, left some money on the table, because at the end of the day, someone like Aaron Rodgers, if he would just shut up off the field, could recoup a couple tens of millions of dollars in endorsements off the field, and it would be a wash. And then you've got all this cap space that you can go out and pay Devontae, and you can pay all these other guys and bring in some draft picks here. But I mean, you know, if Aaron Rodgers is going to cry about how the Packers didn't do this or didn't do that, like, okay, well, you played a very large role in that. You got to wear that hat at some point there.
He's got to be one of the most frustrating teammates to have. I mean, because I think for the most part, a lot of the guys will say like, oh yeah, Aaron's fine, he's cool and whatnot. But I think deep down, you have to resent him a little bit for everything that you just said. Plus, like, he's just very flippant about anything related to, all right, like, let's build something here. He went through it as a rookie with Brett Favre, and he's doing it back tenfold to everyone else coming in. So, I mean, he's
That's the
trying.
great irony of this.
Oh,
is,
absolutely.
Like, how vocal was he about how he didn't like how Favre treated him when he was, breaking into the league in Green Bay? And he's taken that and gone on steroids. Like, it's unbelievable what he's done here. So yeah, he really lacks a lot of self-awareness, and you see it in the interviews, you see it in the things he does, and you see it in his approach to how he thinks the team should be run, while also eating up massive amounts of that salary cap and all of that as well too. So
I mean,
he slowly lost his mind over the years. He's becoming like Tom Cruise of the NFL. He'll be dancing on couches pretty soon.
Yeah, he's gonna go on. If McAfee could have people in studio for his interviews, there he would have flipped a couch or something by now for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
By the way, Pat McAfee is one of the most entertaining people on the planet. The guy is just absolute charisma, and it's funny when he brings on people like that, because he doesn't pull any punches. He just gets after them like no one else.
I loved his take on his WrestleMania appearance there too, where it was like, all right, it's every kid's dream. I was at WrestleMania. I won a match at WrestleMania, and I got to eat a Stone Cold Stunner while drinking a beer. Like, it was a pretty good night for me.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you got a point there, right? Like, checked off quite a few bucket list items right there.
And that being said, he took the stunner way better than McMahon did, and McMahon is the owner of the wrestling business.
Well, he's also not 75 years old, and he doesn't have osteoporosis in every part of his body.
Yeah,
I think it's a good pick by the Jaguars.
There you go, Devin Lloyd. So they did go linebacker, replacing our friend there, but didn't go with Georgia. So a little bit interesting too, because you would have kind of figured coming into the league, pair two Georgia guys, winning culture there, and they can help acclimate one another into that sort of rookie life in year one, but again, that's a solid pick, and I don't think they're going to regret that whatsoever. So if we look here at who's left, and again, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but Green Bay, they're not taking a quarterback, and the pick is in. Patriots, they're not taking a quarterback. Chiefs, not taking a quarterback. Bengals, not taking a quarterback. Vikings, even if they take a quarterback, we're still under that 2.5. So knock on wood that all of a sudden we don't get, all these bottom feeder teams trading back in. But even if Willis goes here at some point with someone hopping back in, we should be safe on that one.
But,
we need a wide receiver to go.
The fact that Pittsburgh just...
What do we got here? What do we got to say?
not to rub salt in my own wound here, but the fact that they ruined the parlay just absolutely grinds my beans.
So you're taking over the grind your beans segment.
To finally get your feelings out.
Yeah, you got it. And then, like I said, that's the only reason why I'm upset about the pick, to be perfectly honest. Like, I feel indifferent about Kenny Pickett. It's just, why couldn't Malik Willis go before Kenny Pickett? Like that's all they had to do. And like, at the end of the day, Pittsburgh, just listen to what we're putting out into the universe. You can teach Malik Willis how to be a great quarterback. Just get our parlay across the line, man. It's not hard.
You had one job.
You had one job. So, no, this is a good pick. I mean, Devin Lloyd is one of the best off the ball linebackers, coming out of the draft. And, he's a lot bigger than people realize. Like, he's almost 6'4". And the big rangy linebackers like that can cover a lot of ground, and they can stop the run quite effectively. So, played on a good team in Utah. He's a little bit older, so he's going to be 24 when the season starts. So seasoned rookie. But I don't know. I still like Dean. I would have went Dean in that position because, like you said, Walker's already there. They double dipped with the national champion last year with Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne. Go back to the well. Go to a national champion, get two guys in there. You're building a winning culture. You've got guys who won. Not to say that Utah hasn't won, but they haven't won. Like,
But I think it's Lloyd's size is what they were going for in that, because they want more of a run stopper. Like, not saying Dean's not a run stopper,
yeah.
but Lloyd is the better of the two when it comes to run stopping.
You know, again, I think when it comes down to, like, when you look at the intangibles side by side and you look at the tail of the tape, Lloyd checks the boxes of being being a prototypical linebacker. The thing that Nakobe Dean is just screaming at me right now, look at back in 1996 when Ray Lewis fell because people thought he was too small to be a middle linebacker in the NFL. So if he ends up on a good, solid team, I think Nakobe Dean ends up being the defensive rookie of the year, because he's got the awareness that very, very, very few rookies come into the league with. So let's see if we can hit our parlay and receivers here, buddy. Yeah. We're crossing our fingers.
Yeah. Well, again,
I'm
Packers,
almost out of
who are they
battery, so
throwing
I'm
the
gonna
ball
say bye
to?
to you guys.
All right. Well, the man of the people will say bye to the people, but happy that the Eagles were able to make it a good night for you, and
no computers were harmed in the recording process of this here. We need to chuck laptops across the room.
Just ceilings. Were harmed.
That's a win.
Yeah.
There you go.
All right.
See you later.
All right. So that brings us up to the Packers. The pick is in. I've got to figure that this has to be our wide receiver parlay hitting here.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't, I think Aaron Rodgers is probably going to have a few things to say on the aforementioned Pat McAfee show next time he's on there. But you look at who's next, and again, Kansas City. Oh, I don't know what's happening here. The Patriots already have their pick in, and they haven't even announced the Packers pick here. So Belichick is not wasting any time.
See, that is Nakobe Dean. I'm telling you right now, Belichick is getting Nakobe Dean, and that's exactly what I just said. He's going to end up going to a franchise that's going to utilize him. It's going to be such a good fit if that's the case.
Yeah. So we've got the Packers, who will eventually announce their pick. The Patriots pick is already in. Then you got Chiefs, Bengals, Vikings. I was going to say, assuming Dean is still there, what a great fit he would be on that Bengals defense, though. Right?
Yeah,
again, not great for you in the division that you've got going on.
Yeah. But he's a good fit on anybody's defense. But here's the thing that I'm looking at. You've got Green Bay, New England, Kansas City, right? And even Minnesota. That's 4 landing spots for one of our receivers to go here.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm concerned about at this point.
That's all I got to say about that at this point here.
Andrew, look at how much weight Whitworth has already lost.
Yeah. Whit is on the TB12 method diet right now.
Yeah.
They're just slimming down, doing a lot of elastic work and stretches. It's got Guerrero coming in, making them some smoothies and whatnot.
Yeah, stealing money from him and Antonio Brown.
There you go. But I mean, once they finally announce this pick, because it seems to be dragging on forever, once the Patriots get up to their selection there, I think that might be a good time to dip into maybe one of our little questionnaires that we had sent out to some of our prospects.
For sure.
So we'll allow Mr. Andrew Whitworth, 2021 Walter Payton Man of the Year, half the man he used to be, standing up there. We'll let him wax eloquently about all the things that, whatever it is he's saying right now, it's on mute. I'm sure he's praising the podcast and all the good work we're doing with our live stream right now.
Just want to put a shout out to the Kyles, doing a fantastic job. Anyone listening to ESPN needs to tune in there right now. But
hour 3, still trucking.
Yeah,
here we go.
We're doing well, man. We're doing well. Especially after a long work day and taking care of the kids. This is commitment, everybody. It's commitment.
TCB, taking care of business.
That's it. Well, by the time Whitworth's done his speech, I'll be able to go through our entire questionnaire with one of our top prospects here. But In the
Well, we
meantime,
finally got it, and Aaron Rodgers is not going to be happy. But Devontae Wyatt, defensive tackle out of Georgia, he had to figure he was going sometime in the next couple of picks. He wasn't slipping out of that first round.
yeah,
But again, I'm shocked. Who are they throwing the ball to this year in Green Bay?
they've got 2 second rounders that are coming up. So, I mean, they're obviously looking to solidify their defense in round 1 and knowing it's a deep receiver class coming back in round 2 and, potentially doing that. But I mean, here's what we thought the Jaguars were going to do, double dipping with the national champion.
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay, if you're going to go into any system and, and really kind of fall in line, get some of those off the field, things past you. Like Green Bay is a pretty good scenario. So the fact he's going there with a teammate, the fact he's going there, with a very solid team, like Devontae Wyatt's game is so good, and he can be such an impact player, especially when you put him next to Kenny Clark. Like this could be an absolute home run for the Packers. So, yes, should they have gone receiver? It was, I think, what everybody was trying to kind of map out in their head where it was going, but it's very hard to pass up on a prospect with this much talent. Honestly, Devontae Wyatt is one of the most talented guys in the whole draft.
Yeah. And so there you have it. The Lions, meager offense. The Vikings, I mean, they're kind of hit and miss, but they'll at least piecemeal it together to finish second in that division. And then you got the Bears there.
Good
as
luck,
well.
Chicago.
Yeah. The NFC North is definitely not going to be enjoying the Packers defense this year, especially because when you deep dive into some of the stats nerds things, the things that don't always show up in the box score, but the deeper dive percentiles and all of that, Green Bay was a darling of that community last year, that defense already. And you go and you add 2 blue chip prospects on top of that.
Yeah.
They're definitely going to be taking care of business on that side of the ball. I seriously do question though, like, unless the plan is that all of a sudden Aaron Jones is a slot receiver and, AJ Dillon is the lead back, like, who are you throwing the ball to?
Hey,
that Atlanta offense looks like a buzzsaw compared to the options Green Bay had.
And anyone looking for fantasy players to target in this year's draft, Alan Lazard is going to be a first-round receiver. Mark it down.
You are hammer drunk, guys. What is happening here? We need to shut down this live stream.
They got to throw it to somebody. So, I mean, who better than that? Who better than the wide receiver 1 on their roster already? All right, so you want to get into one of these questionnaires that we sent out to one of
we got to change the topic from Alan Lazard here because we're going down a weird rabbit hole.
There we go. All right, so PG, earlier in the show, and wish him all the best. He's like I said, shooting up draft boards. But I also mentioned that there's a number of other Ottawa prospects that are in the draft this year, and we'll mention a couple of them, but one who actually, answered a few questions that we had sent over to him was Catley Joseph, who is a cornerback out of the University of Maine. And, Catley, he's been on the Front Office podcast before as well. And, just such a down-to-earth guy. We talk about, the traits about, the Ouija possessed, like humble, really look forward to the next step. Like Catley's one of these guys too. He's got such an infectious personality. Really does captivate you when you're talking to him. But Kyle, I know you sent a few questions over to him. I threw a few in there, but so the one that Kyle had asked was, where's he watching the draft? This weekend, like what's his plan? So, he came back home. He's actually at his house. He's watching it with his family and friends, and he just wants to be close with everybody that's made this possible for him. So, nice to see all these guys coming back home and watching and, experiencing all this thing with family and friends and having things close to them. We asked him who he really modeled his game after. And I mean, he's setting up, some big shoes here, because he said that ever since he was a kid, Ed Reed's always been someone that he looked up to as a player. He's really tried to emulate his game, after Ed Reed with his ball hawking personality, and he really just likes to go about his business, playing with a lot of confidence and knowledge and heart at the end of the day. So again, not surprising knowing the type of guy that he is. This was a kind of a curveball question that you threw in there as well. So outside of football, what sport does he think he would have gone pro in? And he says, completely honest, football is one of a kind. He said he grew up playing soccer and basketball, but never really had a love for them like he did with football. He said he had a lot of success with soccer, but he lost interest in it at a young age because there was no contact. So, spoken like a true football player. That's why we love asking those types of questions. It shows when you speak to him about football, his face lights up, his voice perks up. He's one of the people who you would say like absolutely was meant to play the game of football. Picking somebody outside of football that he looks up to, like where he really models his personality after and who he would kind of equate to. He actually threw out a really good one. He said Derrick Rose, he has a lot of respect for, his mentality, his confidence, his work ethic, obviously. But he said, even with all the injuries that he suffered, his mentality never changed. He always was driven to come back. He's a quiet leader. He leads by example. And Catley's gone through a lot of injuries himself, but he's managed to come back from some significant injuries, and he's put in the work. He actually had a very good pro day when he went to work out at Maine, and he's put that all behind him. And last one before we get on with the draft here. So we said, other than yourself, who's your favorite player to study film on in the draft this year? And he brings up, again, top of the heap. He said Sauce Gardner is a guy that he breaks down all the time because Catley, like Sauce, is a taller corner, really uses athleticism, but he just says the consistency that, Ahmad Gardner brings to the table is something that he really loves about his competitiveness. So yeah, at the end of the day, that's one that, that Catley likes to watch. So Catley, thanks so much for answering those questions for us, and all the best this weekend. Really looking to hear your name called, and we know that it's going to be sooner rather than later. And as I say that, what happened with New England?
Well, there's a graphic up right now. There's a 93% chance of Cole Strange being available at pick 54, which is New England's next pick. But there you go, Galaxy Brain out of Chattanooga. We got Cole Strange becoming probably the strangest pick of the night so far.
Yeah, if I were to tell you,
let me tell you a thing or two about a thing or two here.
Yeah, if I were to tell you that that anyone would have picked Cole Strange to be picked in the first 2 rounds, I would have said you're crazy, because when every place he's been mocked, every time you see someone come up with a ranking, Cole Strange has always fallen in the 3rd or 4th round. Now, that being said, we've mentioned many times on this show and in each of our podcasts that Belichick sees the game differently than everyone else. He finds intangibles that you can coach, and you're seeing more small school prospects make an impact with, whether it be Ali Marpet or Quinn Miners. Maybe they're looking to strike, lightning and have him, Cole Strange, become that next guy. So rapid fire picks now. Kansas City.
George Karlaftis off the board.
That's a good pick. Falling down the draft board, was scheduled to be early to mid round, or mid round first rounder. 20, or what is it, number 30? I mean, You're almost near the end of the first round. Yeah, shoot your shot here. Go get a guy who's falling down draft boards, and ultimately Kansas City's really shoring up the defensive side of their ball.
Yeah.
So
they
again,
got a pass rush. They got some secondary. They're definitely putting it together there for sure. What's not coming together is this last wide receiver that we need to hit on tonight.
Yeah.
And it's going to come down to the Bengals, who I don't think are taking a wide receiver, or the Vikings, who I don't trust to do anything to help me ever.
Yeah. I mean, who knows? Stranger things have happened, but I thought for sure between Green Bay and Kansas City having 2 first-round picks each, you would at least get one receiver out of that group. And here we
And
are.
they both went defense.
Sitting with 0.
Uh-huh. Well, I thought the draft board was shaping up real well for us, but
It was, but like we said, like this is the time where we'd be sweating. But I mean, if it was to a point where Malik Willis did go first and we were still sitting on all 3 of those things happening, right? So like the under 2.5 quarterbacks, the 6 wide receivers, and Malik Willis going first. Like, so just, I don't even know how much money we would have made if all 3 of those hit, but just, ruin my night by telling me.
Millions and millions of dollars. Let me tell you, buddy. But,
I mean, you don't have to patronize me when you say that, but
hundreds and hundreds of dollars. But I mean, right here, we can essentially lock in that under 2.5 first round QBs, because even if Willis goes, like, the Bengals aren't taking a quarterback. So worst case scenario, they've got Kirk Cousins' backup plan right there.
Yeah.
So we got that one. We hit the Hutchinson number 2 overall, and now we're just waiting on that wide receiver game. But again, you look at what the Bengals' real needs are. It's secondary. So is this where Booth goes now? Like, is this a logical sort of Eli Apple replacement who kind of got picked on quite a bit in the playoff run there? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I think you're looking at Booth, Dax Hill out of Michigan, Lewis Sign, the safety out of Georgia. Those are guys who again were flirting with late first, early second round grades. So you could be looking at secondary, a couple of offensive linemen, that could still go. Bernard Ryman, an older prospect, but I think ready to come in right now and play. So does Cincinnati want to go that way, where you can put him, on the left side, kick Jonah Williams inside to guard? Now you've, solidified that line across the board with the free agent signings you've made. Do they go that way, or is this just the best available and you get in a Kobe Dean, to put in that linebacking core? This is where good teams, again, like teams that make Super Bowls and have a good solid roster, this is where you kind of make your hay and where you'll become a team that becomes a 3 or 4 year successful franchise as opposed to a one and done. So, you look at, we talked about Baltimore, New England doing this. Like, you wait around, you let the draft fall to you. Look at how many guys we would have thought would go in the top 20 that are still kind of hovering around that area. So,
well, it's certainly buoyed by the fact that, New England's out there taking Cole Strange, and we've got some of these reaches going on. And, but again, this is kind of what can happen in drafts that don't have a ton of quarterbacks that are going to go, right? You start seeing people prioritizing other positions that might not get the same love that they do in other draft years. And again, there are some real blue chip prospects in this year's draft class, but they're just not at maybe some of the traditional, premium positions, right? There's no Saquon Barkley who people are they going number 1 or is he going number 2? There's no top end Trevor Lawrence, right? I think maybe if Williams hadn't have gotten hurt, he would add a little bit more buzz around that. But then it was more so just like, all right, is a wide receiver even going to get taken in the top 10? Right. And you only ended up getting 2 of them in London and Wilson. So it's again, a year where I think it's going to be quantity of good players over, a select few. Oh, look at all of these future Hall of Famers that are coming out of this draft class here. And you know what? Hey, every day can't be Christmas, but I think there's a lot of value still left on the board right now. And teams like Kansas City and Cincinnati and Minnesota and New England and Green Bay, who probably were thinking like, okay, do we reach on one of those fringe second round guys? Have to be happy with who they ended up with. Turns out New England could have waited till the second round, maybe even the third round, and still gotten their guy. But hey, Bill Belichick's got more Super Bowl rings than you or I combined. So I guess he's doing something right.
Exactly. So, I mean, like I said, there's always going to be guys at the end of a first round where you look at it's like I can't believe they're still on the board. Some of those guys are still there. Some of those guys that went earlier, it's like I can't believe he went that early. Like you look at the Green pick, by Houston at 18, like was a reach, but that was their guy. And the ultimate motto is if you have a guy and he's your guy, you go get him no matter what, whether you trade up, whether you take him earlier than expected. Because at the end of the day, the only opinion that matters is your own. And you can't let other people dictate how you draft. And that's why I think Belichick has been so successful in his career, because he doesn't watch NFL Network. He doesn't, listen to Mel Kiper. He doesn't listen to, Daniel Jeremiah. He trusts his own judgment. He trusts his scouts. He trusts his coaches, and they make picks together that are best for their franchise. So, we're here criticizing the pick, but he could, Cole Strange could end up being the best lineman to come out of this draft, and no one has any idea. So let's just see where that falls. But here's an interesting one to think about for Cincinnati. Trey McBride.
Well, they just announced the pick, and it's your boy, Daxton Hill, coming out of Michigan, so safety. So they did go secondary help there, but
yeah.
Again, here's someone who, in Booth that people thought was a top 20 pick, who now you look at the Vikings, he's probably going there because they need corner help in a pretty drastic way. So I think our wide receiver bet isn't going to be hitting there either. But I mean, really, at the end of the day, you got to like the pick. It was something that was pretty obvious multiple times, even though they had a miraculous playoff run. That secondary was very much there for the picking all throughout that run. They won in spite of what was going on back there.
Yeah.
So makes sense that they went there. I'm just flabbergasted that Nakobe Dean, who I'm sure viewers are probably even getting sick of us saying his name at this point, but like it really is one of those head scratchers as far as, how did all of these guys get picked ahead of him? So he's going to be one of the first names off the board on day 2, unless the Vikings go out and take him here. But you like the pick of Daxton Hill. He's a guy who, I mean, you can probably speak to it more than I can, but I mean, he's got a lot of versatility as well too back there, and can cover a wide variety of skill sets and line up in a lot of different spots. So I think they're going to be thrilled with that. And he's already got the Bengals hat at home, so he was probably made aware of, just how interested that team was in him heading into this there.
Yeah. Well, I touch on this all the time when I talk about, my analysis of top players. And whenever I'm looking, if I were in the GM's position to fill out my roster, you want someone who is versatile, whether it be an offensive lineman who can play multiple positions on the offensive line, a defensive lineman who can kick inside, who can kick outside and perform at the same level, or a secondary player like a Dax Hill, who at the end of the day, the guy could play safety, he can play corner, he can play slot corner, he can return kicks, return punts, he can blitz off the edge. There's a reason why he was the number 1 overall prospect coming out of high school 3 years ago. The guy is just an absolute Swiss Army knife. And you look at someone like Jabril Peppers, who was kind of in the same mold as Dax Hill was when he was at Michigan. Dax Hill's actually a better football player than Jabril Peppers. Jabril Peppers was a better athlete, but Dax Hill's a better overall football player. And he was a big reason why Michigan had so much success this year. So I'm happy. I'm happy that he goes to a team that's actually going to utilize him in a good way. It sucks that it's in the same division as Pittsburgh, but again, you like to see players go to situations that are going to benefit them. Going to a team like Cincinnati benefits Dax Hill because he benefits, their secondary and their defense as a whole. So again, happy to see it.
Yeah. So this is our last chance to hit here. What are the odds when they've already got Thielen, they've already got Jefferson, that they go out there and they roll the dice on a Sky Moore, for example here?
I honestly think that the chances are fairly high because Thielen's not a spring chicken. His days are, as a top end receiver are probably behind him. I think he's more of a second or third weapon now. So when you're looking at maximizing what they do well on offense, if you can throw in another receiver, especially on the younger side, to complement Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook, with Irv Smith coming back, I think a nice slot receiver makes a lot of sense here. So that could be Sky Moore. Here's a wild card to keep in mind, and the pick's probably already been made as I'm saying this, so it's probably just means nothing. But there's a guy out of Memphis who I really think is being undervalued too, Calvin Austin the third. He's Tyreek Hill 2.0 in my mind. So if Calvin Austin the third is utilized in that way, he can be exactly like a Tyreek Hill. So let's see if he could sneak into the first round as a receiver. Other than that, I think that Booth has to be the pick here.
So you're saying someone should trade multiple first rounders and a whole bunch of seconds and thirds in order to go out and get Calvin Austin right here then?
Well, I said he's got to work his way there, but I see really bright things in the future for him if he's utilized in that way. So he's one of my second day sleepers that can make a big impact.
Well, Minnesota Vikings fans appear to be very well represented in
they
Vegas
are
right now.
very drunk.
Yeah, they've had more than a few wobbly pops out there watching the events unfold this evening. Might have dipped into Goodell's green room at one point. Oh, Goodell has a bling medallion on now, apparently gifted to him by a Vikings fan. So there's that. Goodell, man of the people. Oh, whoa, Lewis Sign. Safety Order of Georgia.
Lewis Sign. Yeah.
Well, there we go. There's another one. We got to the 1 inch yard line and we had like 13 picks. Couldn't convert on it. Unbelievable.
And we threw the ball on 2nd and 1 instead of giving it to Marshawn Lynch to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Who put Pete Carroll in charge of our parlay tonight? Unbelievable. But all that to say, like, how many Georgia players is that now in the first round here? Let's count them on up here. So you got Walker at 1. And we got Jordan Davis at 13 to the Eagles. And Quay Walker at 22 to the Packers is 3. Devontae Wyatt at 28 to the Packers is 4. And then Lewis at 32. So that's 5 Georgia Bulldogs defenders in the first round. So every 6th pick was a Bulldog.
And arguably the best player on that defense is still there.
Yeah.
Which is frightening.
There should have been an over-under on how many Bulldogs went in the first round there. Where was the props bet on that?
Yeah.
Gonna have to talk to our friends over at Bet99, see if we can start getting some Dine Sports podcast specials going on there.
Can we actually name what the parlays are going to be?
Yeah. Oh, based on how we did tonight, only hitting 2 out of the 4 there, it would be the how to lose money parlay.
I mean, at the end of the day, it was so close, but so far. But I mean, hey, so close, but so far. The story of the prospects who were still in the green room, who thought they were going in the first round. And I think the most shocking, obviously, we mentioned their names, I think 1,000 times tonight each. Malik Willis and Nakobe Dean. Two of the players you thought for sure would be going, if not in the middle of round 1, but at least in the late round 1. And they're both going to be spending the night in Vegas, which isn't necessarily the worst thing. Spending the night in Vegas and doing it all over again tomorrow.
Yeah, hair and makeup will have a hell of a time putting them back together in the morning there.
Yeah. But overall, fun night, man. Very fun night. It was it started out with a bang, with I think we nailed the first 10 or 11 picks, and then, like I said, the wheels fell off and
I blame
Oh,
Washington. It
all
all
hell
went
broke
south
loose.
as soon as
Yeah.
Washington came up there. Unbelievable. But no, we appreciate you hopping on here, spending 3 hours and 40 minutes nonstop action breaking down the NFL draft with us tonight there. For those that want to tune in and see more of, well, I guess hear more of your voice there, because podcasts don't tend to come with videos. Tell the people where they can tune in and hear you and Jet and Kev and all the rest of the crew there.
Well, Front Office Podcast is where you can find it on any streaming service, Apple, Spotify, Google, what have you. You can check us out at frontofficepodcast.com, where we've got all of our episodes, plus a lot of downloadable content. And obviously you can find us over at the Dines Press Box, as we are a proud partner of our pals at Dines Sports. So any one of those streaming platforms or websites you can find us at. And again, don't forget to patron our wonderful partners at the Smoke Shack and BTB Smokehouse and Human 2.0. Again, fantastic places to improve your body and make your body feel good, which is two different things. So improving your body at Human 2.0, making your body feel good by eating the best barbecue in the world at the Smoke Shack. So there we have it.
It could go either way, really, right? Like Smoke Shack could improve your body as well too. And
you get
make
that
you
protein.
feel better at Human 2.0. So
exactly, they're interchangeable, and that's what we like about the sponsors, is that they're interchangeable.
There you go. And as always, if you want to go and get any of the parlays in action for night number 2, head over to bet99.com. Use the promo code DINES, DYNES. Make sure they know who sent you. Kyle, always a pleasure. Until next time, my friend, we'll do it again next year. We'll have a year